Chapter 461 Prophecy of Three Venerables. Several days later, carts rumbled and horses neighed. The tribesmen arrived at Crescent Lake and set up camp around the sparse horseshoe trees. Zhiguang and the Ji tribe's higher-ups could finally heave a sigh of relief. Aquatic plants were plentiful here, along with large numbers of beast groups. They could hold a hunting festival and store provisions for their later journey. We finally arrived. Fang Yuan was overwhelmed in his heart. At night, he used the excuse of leading the wolf group to hunt to leave Ji tribe's sight. It was a moonless night, but there were many stars. The wolf group sprinted against the flow of the night wind as they discovered several small mid-sized beast groups, devouring them one by one. The wolf group excitedly howled. They had been in a half-starving state these days, and now they could eat to their fill. Even if he had a group of 30,000 wolves, Fang Yuan still carefully maneuvered the wolf group's movement. The wolf group might be of a large scale, but Crescent Lake had many dangers. There was an even larger group of water wolves, a three-horned rhino group, and a group of 1,000 mutated beasts, and finally, a worm group that had hundreds of thousands and even up to 1,000,000 insects. Of course, these worm groups and beast groups had their own territory and would not move around everywhere like those on the grassland. There was plenty of aquatic plants beside Crescent Lake. They did not need to move around to search for food. As long as Fang Yuan and Ji tribe did not invade their territory, the beasts and worms would not find any issues with them. According to his previous life's memories, Fang Yuan moved along the lakeside towards the east and arrived at a stone forest. This stone forest was very common. There were stone pillars which were gray, purplish black, greenish yellow, and so on, quietly standing straight with a precise distance between them. There were many stone forests beside Crescent Lake, but this particular forest was rather special. If someone looked from high above, they would only see gray-white stone pillars and would discover that the stone pillars vaguely formed into a thief one character. This stone forest had a really impressive origin. It was personally created by Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable. Back then, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable requested Long Hair Ancestor to refine a Gu for him. Thus, he made a bet with him. He won 3 rounds out of 5. The Long Hair Ancestor had no choice but to accept his loss and agreed to refine the Gu. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable wanted to enter the legendary space door all his life and requested Long Hair Ancestor to refine the Immortal Gu. Space Escape Gu, an immortal Gu that could allow a Gu master to enter the space door. He placed all his effort in researching the recipe for it. Long Hair Ancestor was very excited and felt that the recipe was good and proper, but there were some places that could be improved. After discussing with Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable, the Demon Venerable became very happy and exclaimed that Long Hair Ancestor's refinement path attainment far surpassed his. The two immortals cooperated and spent 21 years to successfully refine Space Escape Gu. However, although this Gu was refined and Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable could activate it, it was not able to enter the space door no matter what he did. The Demon Venerable felt discouraged, and the proud Long Hair Ancestor also suffered a huge setback. Later, Long Hair Ancestor researched with Giant Sun Immortal Venerable but did not make any progress. The Space Escape Gu became the only failure in Long Hair Ancestor's life. It was said that even at his deathbed, Long Hair Ancestor could not forget this. His good friend, Immortal Yi Yan, could not endure seeing his old friend pass away like this and expended 50 years of his life to deduce the future. He predicted that many years later, after 3 great eras, 3 venerables would appear, 2 men and 1 woman. The first was Spectral Soul Demon Venerable, second was Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, and third was Great Dream Immortal Venerable. As for the problem regarding the Space Escape Gu, it would be solved by Great Dream Immortal Venerable. Immortal Yi Yan was a rank 8 Wisdom Path Gu Immortal and was proficient in making predictions. He often made accurate one-sentence predictions and was thus known as Immortal Yi Yan II. And this deduced prophecy would later be known as the famous Prophecy of 3 Venerables. Sure enough, the world went through countless changes and continuously moved forward after Giant Sun Immortal Venerable Spectral Soul Demon Venerable appeared. After the Demon Venerable died, a rank 9 male Gu Immortal appeared in Righteous Path and was, as predicted, known as Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable. Now, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable was already dead. Prophecy of 3 Venerables was mostly complete. Only Great Dream Immortal Venerable, who is yet to be born, remains. Speaking of it, Long-Hair Ancestor was both happy and sad at this prophecy. Happy because the problem of space escape Gu could finally be resolved. Sad because he would not be able to see that day. Long-Hair Ancestor died and turned into a land spirit with only one obsession: to see Great Dream Immortal Venerable. As long as she solved the problem of space escape Gu, the whole Xianxia blessed land would belong to her. Back then, when Long-Hair Ancestor refined the space escape Gu for Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable, the result was a failure, but they could not find the problem with it. Being greatly embarrassed, he promised to refine 9 more Gu worms for Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable, and he would even provide all the materials required to refine the Gu. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable later requested Long-Hair Ancestor to refine 6 immortal Gu before Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable mysteriously disappeared. He set up his inheritances in the 5 regions and made an agreement with Long-Hair Ancestor that the remaining 3 chances for Gu refinement will be left for his inheritor. Long-Hair Ancestor agreed, and the two made a secret code. After more than a decade from now, one of the Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's inheritances would suddenly activate and be known by everyone. The content of the inheritance is a riddle, and the riddle points towards Xianxia blessed land. From then on, a craze of solving riddles in northern plains with countless people trying to solve it started. The rumors spread endlessly, but no one succeeded. Later, Ma Hongyun was forced to flee after being defeated on the battlefield and came running to Crescent Lake. At the lakeside, he encountered a premeditated ambush. Panicked and left with no choice, he ran over to this stone forest and accidentally discovered a passage in the stone forest. Going through this secret passage, he entered Xianxia blessed land and met the land spirit. After getting the secret code right, Xianxia land spirit refined 3 Gu worms for him as per the agreement. Ma Hongyun obtained these 3 rank 5 Gu, and after recovering from his injuries, he returned to the stone forest and turned the tide with great might, starting all over again, and finally he obtained the throne of the imperial court for the 2nd time. Fang Yuan recalled while slowly moving forward. Then his eyes brightened, and he stopped before a purple stone pillar. This stone pillar was also common, but a stone that was flat, like a stool, was near the bottom of the pillar. During that time, after Ma Hongyun was defeated, he was chased by the enemy troops and was already on the verge of death. He fled to this place and had nowhere to run with his injuries reaching a critical state. He sat on this stone stool and gazed up at the sky while leaning on the stone pillar. Suddenly, he felt that this stone pillar looked like his dear wife. His consciousness was on the verge of collapsing. He used his blood-stained hand to gently caress the stone pillar and said with deep love, "Lian Yun, oh Lian Yun, I really regret not listening to your advice. I want to see you. I want to tell you personally, I love you. I was wrong." At this time, the enemies had already arrived and were raising their sabers high. But at the next moment, Ma Hongyun suddenly disappeared. He had entered Xianxia blessed land. Fang Yuan sat at this stone stool, leaning on the pillar and gazing up, but he could not see a woman's appearance anywhere on the stone pillar. Fang Yuan laughed uncontrollably. It seems this Ma Hongyun was just thinking of his wife when he stared at the stone pillar. His longing was so deep that he could see Zhao Lian Yun on anything. This Zhao Lian Yun was also a weird woman. In the future, she became a wisdom path, Gu Immortal, and was a good wife to Ma Hongyun, helping him strategize. But currently, she was only a little girl. Fang Yuan took out a dagger and cut his flesh, letting the fresh blood smear this purple stone pillar. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable had put a mysterious Gu worm on this purple stone pillar. Blood was only the first criteria for its activation. There was still the second criteria. That was to say, "I want." When Fang Yuan said these 2 words, his body instantly disappeared and his vision suddenly changed. When he regained his senses, he was in a room. In the room, the smell of an alchemy furnace wafted in the air. There were dragon pillars, golden curtains, crane lanterns, and vermilion windows. A sagely old man was sitting cross-legged on a bed of cloud, his eyes closed as if he was meditating. He was thin with white hair, having a beard that reached his chest, and a ruddy face like that of a baby's. He was wearing a wide robe and the two sleeves were fluttering in the air. Demon Venerable's inheritor Chang Shanyin has come to pay respects. Fang Yuan touched his chest with his right hand and slightly bowed. You are Chang Shanyin? The old man slightly opened his eyes. His eyes flashed with bright light as he looked at Fang Yuan with a gaze that seemed to materialize. This outer skin of yours is quite interesting. You used human skin along with shame plum autumn voice grass. There is also pill fire Gu, medicine strength Gu, and some. The land spirit frowned deeply and caressed his beard, a hesitant expression on his face. He could actually see through Fang Yuan's disguise and even roughly deduce human skin Gu's recipe by just observing. Lad, do you want to exchange this Gu worm's recipe? I will use a similar grade Gu worm to exchange for it. Or you can choose a similar grade Gu worm recipe. Ah, right. Secret code. The secret code. After speaking for a while, the land spirit suddenly remembered the secret code and smacked his head. Fang Yuan shrugged his shoulders. The secret code that you created with the demon venerable back then. Ha, there is no secret code. As for the human skin Gu recipe, I cannot exchange it yet. You don't want to exchange. Why? The land spirit was furious. A heavy pressure pressed down on Fang Yuan. He could not budge. His whole skeleton emitted creaking noises under the suppression. But he sneered with no concern. I have my reasons for not doing the exchange. You do not need to know about it. The land spirit laughed sinisterly. Hee, you don't want to exchange, then I shall imprison you here and peel off your skin. After studying it few times, I can reverse engineer the recipe of this human skin Gu. No, you can't make a move on me. Fang Yuan was confident. I am Demon Venerable's inheritor. You can't do anything to me before the agreement of the three Gu is completed. According to Earth's understanding, the land spirit was equivalent to an artificial intelligence. Except that this land spirit birthed from long hair ancestor had quite a high intelligence and was good at scaring others. In his past life, Ma Hongyun had been scared by the land spirit and lost the precious opportunity to refine immortal Gu, refining only 3 rank 5 Gu. After that incident, Ma Hongyun regretted it endlessly. After becoming a Gu immortal, whenever he thought of this matter, he would wring his hands and sigh. You! The land spirit blew its beard and opened its eyes, which seemed to puff out fire, a posture that seemed ready to kill. But Fang Yuan remained unmoved. The land spirit kept on staring for a long while before suddenly turning exhausted like a bowl that was leaking air. He then scowled miserably and got off the bed of clouds, walking towards Fang Yuan and softly pleaded while pulling his sleeves. Young lad, please do a good deed and exchange this recipe with me, please. Fang Yuan was speechless. What was this situation? His attitude change was way too fast. Chapter 462, Exchanging Gu. Young lad, please have some tea. This is a high-grade cloud smoke tea. Have a taste of it. Langya land spirit sat at the edge of the bed as he brewed a cup of tea for Fang Yuan personally. Fang Yuan sat at the spot the land spirit was sitting at previously, looking at this peculiar land spirit wordlessly. In the conversation earlier, Fang Yuan had talked to this land spirit and understood this land spirit liked collecting recipes. It will try its best to get its hands on any new recipes it discovers. If it were any other person, the land spirit would have extorted and threatened him already. But Fang Yuan was a demon venerable's inheritor. He did not dare to do so, thus he could only beg nicely. Handsome young lad, is the tea not nice? Are you happy? For the sake of this tea, exchange that human skin recipe with me, please. Langya land spirit showed a smiling expression as he tried to please Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan drank his tea silently. The mysterious, strong, and sagely image of Langya land spirit collapsed rapidly. Young lad, do me a favor, pity this old man. I live alone here. I am so lonely, so bored, so thirsty. I can only look at these recipes daily to pass time. Are you so cruel to reject the request of such a pitiful old man like me? The land spirit had a grandpa appearance, having white beard, white hair, and white eyebrows, staring at Fang Yuan pitifully. Hey, have some self-awareness. You are a land spirit, not a human. Fang Yuan's eyes were twitching. Young lad, whatever you say, as long as you will give the recipe to me. You can do anything to me. The grandpa winked at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan controlled his urge to kick this creep as he shouted, "No means no." Xianxia land spirit's body shuddered as it started crying, rolling on the ground. "No, I want to exchange. I want the recipe. I want the recipe, young lad. You are too cruel, too ruthless. You lack compassion. Why are you not exchanging the recipe with me? Will it kill you? Please just exchange it." Seriously, rumors cannot compare to meeting in real life. Fang Yuan's head was full of black lines as the image of Xianxia land spirit that he had broken to pieces and was stepped into tiny shards on the ground. However, this showed Xianxia land spirit's innocence and sincerity. The land spirit grandpa rolled on the ground and cried for a long time, but Fang Yuan did not relent. He had no choice but to stand up with tears all over his face. Even his beard, hair, and eyebrows were wet. "Young lad, what's wrong with your conscience? You are simply too cruel, as expected of the inheritor of a demon venerable." The grandpa complained as he looked at Fang Yuan like a wife who had just been cheated on. Fang Yuan could not stand this gaze. He shuddered as he sighed. Never mind. I can give you the human skin Gu's recipe. But you have to wait until the time is right. Young lad, you are awesome. You are the kindest person ever. So when will the time be right? Land Spirit was extremely overjoyed. 500 years later, Land Spirit Grandpa frowned and immediately slumped. That's so long away. This is the best I am willing to offer. Why? You don't want to exchange anymore. Of course I want to exchange. It's just 500 years. I can wait. Young lad, I will be waiting for you. This is our agreement for a lifetime. The old grandpa said affectionately. Fang Yuan held his face, sighing deeply. I have a recipe here. I want to exchange it for connecting heaven Gu. Once he heard Fang Yuan's request, Xianxia land spirit's expression changed. He stood upright and raised his head slightly, showing an arrogant expression. Oh, you want to get connecting heaven Gu? He spoke slowly and casually. To tell you the truth, young lad, I have an uncountable number of recipes here. If the recipe you produce is already owned by me, I will not take it. Fang Yuan laughed confidently. Old man, your era is long over. Bring me a brush and paper. I will write a portion of it for you. Just after he wrote half of the content, Fang Yuan stopped.
Write it? What else is there?
Land Spirit stood at the side, scratching his ears as his eyes shone. He had already confirmed that this was a new recipe. He had never seen it before. This is a rank 5 recipe. Where is your connecting heaven, Gu? Here. Land Spirit waved his hand and a connecting heaven Gu appeared on the table. Fang Yuan finished writing this recipe and refined the connecting heaven Gu, keeping it in his aperture. At the side, Land Spirit looked at this recipe gleefully. The Gu worm in the recipe was a new Gu discovered by Gu masters 500 years later. During the chaotic 5 region battle, it was an era of innovation. Of all sorts of new Gu were developed and created. Every time such a chaotic era appeared, a rank 9 Gu immortal would be born. Fang Yuan had his previous life's memories. Although he forgot a lot of things, he still had a great number of recipes inside his head. These recipes, to exaggerate, were ahead of the current times by an era. Of course, the land spirit had never heard of them. Do you have divine sense? Gu Fang Yuan kept connecting heaven Gu and asked. Yes. Exchange? You still have recipes? Land spirit grandpa was shocked and overjoyed. Fang Yuan smiled as he took the brush and paper, writing once again. But this time, halfway through, the land spirit laughed. Young man, I have the recipe of this Gu worm already. Oh, Fang Yuan stopped writing. His expression was stunned. He did not think that the land spirit was lying. Land spirits were pure. Yes means yes, and no means no. If you don't believe me, you can look at this. Xianxia land spirit grabbed the air, and a cowhide recipe appeared, landing on the table. Fang Yuan took a look. It was the real deal. It seems that the Gu worms in my memories, although they only appeared 500 years later, might not be new Gu after all. Thinking so, Fang Yuan laughed, saying to the land spirit, "No worries, if this is no use, I have another recipe." But this time, Fang Yuan only wrote a third of it before the land spirit clapped. "Although I do not have this recipe, I have something very similar. Look at this." Saying so, he handed Fang Yuan a recipe. It was 90% similar to his. Fang Yuan immediately understood. My recipe might have been improved on by a Gu master using an ancient recipe. "Young lad, this recipe does not have much value. I will not exchange for it," land spirit said. Fang Yuan revised his plans. When long-hair ancestor was alive, he loved to collect and research on recipes. He was known as the #1 immortal of the refinement path of all times. He lived for a long period of time and collected a vast number of recipes. He could be said to have been an extremely successful collector. As for Fang Yuan's generation of the New Age, they had not reached the apex of the time period. At least, Great Dream Immortal Venerable had not appeared yet. The Gu worm recipes in Fang Yuan's memories, compared to Xianxia, Blessed Land's accumulation from many eras, seemed to be extremely insignificant. Look at these then. Fang Yuan started scribbling again. But for these recipes, either Xianxia, Blessed Land had it, or it was a modified ancient recipe. The land spirit had no intentions to get them. Fang Yuan was helpless. In his memories, there were some Gu worms that were definitely new, but they had a great importance in the future. Each represented a great benefit to him and could easily change the situation of the regions. Once they get exposed by Xianxia, Blessed Land, his losses were small issues. But it might potentially alter history. The disadvantages were too great for Fang Yuan compared to the gains. Land spirit, look at this recipe. Fang Yuan thought and wrote the Stargate Gu's recipe. Land spirit took a look and was interested. The more Fang Yuan wrote, the more its interest grew. "I've never seen these recipes before. They are rather peculiar. Very peculiar," the old grandpa muttered as he rubbed his chin. This was a rank 5 Gu recipe. Fang Yuan successfully obtained the Divine Sense Gu from it. "Young lad, this Stargate Gu is interesting. It has the effect to cross the 5 regions. The 5 regions have their respective barriers at the boundaries, but this can actually make use the power of Black Heaven. This type of Gu worm, usually only Whole Earth Gu and Connecting Heaven Gu are popular classics, but this Stargate Gu can compete with the two of them, and is not inferior in any way."
Did you create this Gu's recipe?
Land Spirit asked. Of course. Fang Yuan admitted it without hesitation. He had zero guilt in impersonating and taking this glory for himself. Next, he started to brag shamelessly. The few recipes earlier were also devised by me, although I also used some current recipes as the base for my research. This act undoubtedly deepened his relationship with Xianxia Land Spirit. "Little friend, you have talent for refinement path. I am truly amazed." Land Spirit Grandpa stopped calling Fang Yuan young lad, but started calling him little friend. But this Stargate Gu has its weaknesses. You need to gather starlight at night to activate it. Other than that, this Gu's refinement success rate is low. But if we add a few supplementary materials into it, we can raise the success rate by 30%. Next, the Land Spirit listed a few materials. Fang Yuan frowned as he listened. He had never heard of these materials. It seems that they were either materials from the immemorial era or just simply too rare and unique, with little use normally. Land Spirit continued. It seems this Stargate Gu is best paired with the Starlight Fireflies. With the Starlight Fireflies, you will have starlight, and the Stargate Gu can be used regardless of time or location. What? Fang Yuan heard this and his heart pounded, asking quickly, Starlight Fireflies? What are Starlight Fireflies? You don't know about Starlight Fireflies? That's true. They were already extremely rare during the immemorial era and were extinct during the olden era. When the immemorial 9 heavens were still around, most of the Starlight Fireflies lived in Orange Heaven. Land Spirit exposed another ancient secret. Fang Yuan was disappointed. Since it is extinct, there's no need to mention it. The so-called extinct is merely in the mortal realm. Recently, I saw a swarm of Starlight Firelight when making a transaction in Treasure Yellow Heaven. I think it belongs to Star Lord Wan Xiang. Land Spirit recalled. Really? Fang Yuan's eyes were shining. The reason he exchanged for connecting Heaven Gu and Divine Sense Gu were so that he could impersonate a Gu immortal and make transactions in Treasure Yellow Heaven to obtain resources and stop his reliance on Immortal Crane Sect. Land Spirit's words greatly increased his interest in the Starlight Fireflies. Fang Yuan's eyes rolled, laughing craftily. Land Spirit, I still have many recipes here, but I only want Starlight Fireflies. Land Spirit shook its head. I can't exchange that. Why? I do not have Starlight Firefly Gu, Land Spirit said as a matter of fact. Fang Yuan said snappily, if you do not have Starlight Firefly Gu, can't you use connecting Heaven Gu to buy it in Treasure Yellow Heaven? The Land Spirit looked at Fang Yuan with a weird expression. Why do I have to buy Starlight Firefly Gu? If you do not buy Starlight Firefly Gu, how are you going to exchange for my recipe? Land Spirit shook its head, adamantly saying, your recipe can only exchange for goo worms I currently have in the Blessed Land. Fang Yuan was speechless. The Land Spirit was rigid. It could not make such compromises. After all, it was not human. As a Land Spirit, it could not make flexible decisions. In the end, after Fang Yuan talked until his lips were about to tear, no progress was made. The Land Spirit only followed the rules. Fang Yuan could only stop his attempt, but suddenly he had a thought. Wait, you said you will only exchange for goo that are currently in your Blessed Land. Fang Yuan licked his dry lips. Then I'll use my immortal goo recipe to exchange for your heavenly primeval treasure Imperial Lotus. Is that okay? Chapter 463. Fang Yuan's Awkwardness. Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was a rank 6 immortal goo, but it was not a natural goo, instead was invented by Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Rank 3 Heavenly Essence Treasure Lotus, Rank 4 Heavenly Essence Treasure Monarch Lotus, and Rank 5 Heavenly Essence Treasure King Lotus could produce primeval essence, giving an enormous help in a goo master's primeval essence recovery. Rank 6 and above Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, however, produced immortal essence and had extremely huge use. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable relied on this goo to become the person with the most abundant immortal essence among rank 9 goo immortals in all history. After Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable died, his Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was protected with layers of security, becoming a famous treasure in the world. However, after a dozen of years, an extremely daring rank 7 Gu Immortal stole it. This rank 7 Gu Immortal was the Venerable after Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable, the one who became the Heavenly Thief, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable. After Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable died, this Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus was also destroyed. Long Hair Ancestor had many interactions with Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable, and after the Demon Venerable went missing for hundreds of years, Long Hair Ancestor tried to refine the goo. Finally, he succeeded in refining a rank 6 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. Later, he developed a preference for it and advanced it to rank 8 stage. Immortal goo were one of a kind, and their names also remained the same. After they advanced to stages beyond rank 6, their names would not change. For example, Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus and Spring Autumn Cicada. When they advanced from rank 6 to rank 7, they would still be called Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus and Spring Autumn Cicada. After Long Hair Ancestor died, his obsession merged with the heavenly power to form a land spirit. This rank 8 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus also remained in Xianxia Blessed Land. Xianxia Blessed Land would later be accidentally discovered by a soul path, Gu Immortal called Gi Wang, leading the first wave of attacks. The result was that they were captured by the land spirit. However, the news regarding Xianxia Blessed Land was leaked by Gi Wang and attracted more Gu Immortals. Later, a second wave of attacks came, and later, the third wave, and so on. During the 7th wave, the Heavenly Court dispatched several rank 7 Gu Immortals who brought immortal Gu to the mortal realm. After a tragic battle, Xianxia Blessed Land finally collapsed while the Gu Immortals also suffered disastrous losses. Feng Yuan died in this battle. However, Xianxia Blessed Land's great number of recipes were taken by the Heavenly Court. Central Continent's strength thus rose sharply, and with just their strength, They attacked the 4 great regions. With his previous life's memories, Fang Yuan was clear of the future development. At this moment, when Fang Yuan suddenly mentioned the use of Immortal Gu recipe to exchange for Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus, the land spirit refused without hesitation. This is not possible. Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus can produce immortal essence. It is the reason why I can defend against the calamities and tribulations. At the same time, I need to use these immortal essence to refine Gu Heavenly Essence. Treasure Imperial Lotus is non-exchangeable. Is that so? Fang Yuan nodded with some disappointment since he had some expectations. However, the land spirit's next sentence ignited his hope again. However, I have other immortal Gu here. What recipe do you have? Rank 7 recipe can only be exchanged for rank 6 immortal Gu. Rank 8 recipe can be exchanged for rank 7 or rank 6 immortal Gu. Fang Yuan's eyes let out a bright light. He knew Xianxia Blessed Land had a rank 7 beast enslavement Gu. This immortal Gu could subdue any wild beast in the world, including mutated beasts, myriad beast emperor, even desolate beasts and ancient desolate beasts. Long-hair ancestor used this Gu to subdue many desolate beasts, including several ancient desolate beasts, whom he buried under the 12 cloud buildings. With these desolate beasts' protection, the whole Xianxia Blessed Land became a fortified castle and was able to resist till the 6th wave of Gu Immortals' crazed attack, and finally fell at the 7th wave. This beast enslavement Gu is extremely important to the Blessed Land. The land spirit definitely won't exchange it. But long-hair ancestor has refined many immortal Gu. He definitely had more than just beast enslavement Gu and heavenly essence treasure Imperial Lotus. Fang Yuan felt a rush, and after thinking for a moment, he began to write a recipe. The old land spirit looked from the side with his hands behind his back. After observing for a while, he started laughing. This is the 2nd aperture Gu's recipe, right? Hey, you have this recipe too. Fang Yuan stopped writing. Of course, I have countless recipes here, including thousands of immortal Gu recipes. The land spirit said proudly. Such wealth, I see why even the heavenly court decided to attack. Fang Yuan's eyes flashed as he sighed inwardly. In that case, he contemplated and started writing on another paper. He was writing the recipe for the rank 6 blood deity. The land spirit's eyes immediately let out a bright light when he saw the start of the recipe. But the light gradually dimmed. When Fang Yuan had written the 3rd line, the land spirit said, although your blood path recipe might be amazing, it is only a remnant recipe. Even though some parts were patched up, there are many conflicts in the steps. There is a very small chance of successfully refining it. You cannot exchange this recipe for an immortal. Fang Yuan let out a sigh. Back then, this blood deity recipe that he obtained was a remnant piece. After his painstaking research and request for other Gu immortals to repair it, this current recipe was formed. He knew, however, this recipe was not accurate. The reason why he did not choose to refine blood deity in his previous life was also mainly because of this. Later, through a coincidental opportunity, he obtained the accurate recipe for Spring-Autumn Cicada. Thereupon, he abandoned the blood deity to refine Spring-Autumn Cicada. However, Spring-Autumn Cicada involved his greatest secret of rebirth. Even if Xianxia Blessed Land did not have this recipe, Fang Yuan would not take it out to exchange. He had taken the initiative to expose it in 3 Kings Blessed Land because he was in dire straits and wanted to gamble for an overwhelming benefit. However, right now, he was not in a tight spot and thus did not need to take the risk. Since it was like this, Fang Yuan did not continue writing the recipe for the blood deity. The immortal Gu recipes he knew was only about a dozen, but most of them was remnant recipes. Blood deity's recipe was already the best of these remnant recipes. He only had 2 intact and correct immortal Gu recipes, 2nd aperture Gu and Spring-Autumn Cicada. However, Xianxia Blessed Land already had the recipe of the former, while Fang Yuan did not dare to expose the latter. Fang Yuan fell into silence, and after thinking for a while, he asked, Land Spirit, can I use rank 5 recipe to exchange for a STARGATE Gu? The land spirit shook his head. No, you can only exchange for the Gu worms that I currently have. Fang Yuan was unresigned and asked, "Land Spirit, could it be that you don't want to refine Stargate Gu? This is a completely new Gu we are talking about here. Of course I want to. Although it is not suitable for me to use, I can put it in treasure, Yellow Heaven, to sell. But I can refine it whenever I want to, and I'm not certain when I will do it." The Land Spirit suddenly reacted. He showed his intelligence at this time. "Little friend, you are Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's inheritor. You have 3 opportunities to ask me to refine Gu. But if you want to refine immortal Gu, whether it succeeds or fails, it will be counted as 1 chance. If you want to refine mortal Gu, I will definitely make you the Gu. If you want the Stargate Gu, I can refine it successfully for you." The Land Spirit proposed. Fang Yuan suddenly realized that there were these small details. No wonder Ma Hongyun chose to refine 3 rank 5 Gu at that time. When he fell into this place, he was only a mortal and might not know the value of immortal Gu. Moreover, a mortal body cannot use immortal Gu. Thus, he refined 3 rank 5 Gu that could immediately increase his battle strength. After returning to the outside world, he turned the tide around, gathering his troops again and turned defeat into victory. When Ma Hongyun later became a Gu immortal, he realized how precious the opportunity in Langya blessed land was. Unfortunately, he could only regret at that time. Ma Hongyun's awkwardness became Fang Yuan's awkwardness too. Fang Yuan was only a mortal now. Even if he got an immortal Gu, he could not use it. Little Hu Land Spirit could use immortal Gu. But whether it was Whole Earth Gu, Connecting Heaven Gu, or Stargate Gu, they could not support an immortal Gu. That is to say, even if Fang Yuan possessed an immortal Gu, he could not send it to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Moreover, these 3 opportunities to refine immortal Gu also had a precondition, that is, Fang Yuan had to provide the recipes for them. If there was an error in the recipe, the refinement would fail. Immortal Gu were the only one of its kind. If someone else already possessed that immortal Gu, the refinement would fail then as well. According to the Land Spirit's words, if the immortal Gu refinement fails, 1 opportunity would be lost. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable could refine 6 immortal Gu at that time. One reason was because Long Hair Ancestor was arrogant and refused to fail intentionally. And another reason was Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable was brimming with talent, with formidable ability, and had made sufficient preparation and made use of every opportunity, causing Long Hair Ancestor to lose great amounts of precious and rare Gu refinement materials 6 times. Now, Long Hair Ancestor was dead and had turned into a Land Spirit. Although he would not play tricks when refining immortal Gu for Fang Yuan, he was after all a Land Spirit and not Long Hair Ancestor himself. Thus, his ability in Gu refinement was greatly reduced. In that case, do I waste 1 precious opportunity to refine a Stargate Gu? Fang Yuan fell into deep contemplation. According to common sense, these 3 opportunities should be sufficiently exploited to refine 3 immortal Gu, like Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable did back in the day. However, Fang Yuan had huge problems in doing so. Firstly, he did not have immortal Gu recipes. Secondly, he did not have the ability of Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable and could not guarantee the success of immortal Gu's refinement. If the refinement failed, it would mean 1 chance wasted. It was worse than refining a rank 5 Gu. The final crucial point was that he was only a mortal and could not use immortal Gu. Although immortal Gu had a very high value, it was of no help to him and would instead attract disaster. It would be worse than a rank 5. Even rank 5 Gu was not suitable for Fang Yuan. With Fang Yuan's current situation in Northern Plains, using rank 4 was the best. Of course, I can leave these 3 opportunities for now. Anyway, I have already obtained the opportunities. Even if Ma Hongyun came personally, or that Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's inheritor appears, there would be no effect. However, I truly need Stargate Gu at present. Fang Yuan was hesitating and felt that he was in an awkward position. His current strength path cultivation only had 30 Jun of strength. He urgently needed Gu worms to reform his skin and flesh. In terms of enslavement path cultivation, there was a great burden in feeding the wolf group, and without a tribe to support them, he could only maintain around 30,000 wolves by himself. In terms of soul, the wolfman's soul was already formed. He could go to Dang Hun Mountain and use Guts Gu to strengthen it. In terms of cultivation, he fulfilled the conditions to break through, but because of the region's suppression, he could not break through to rank 5 right now. His current situation was like a chess player with all the chess pieces in places where they could not be moved. He was stuck in a deadlock, facing a huge bottleneck. Chapter 464, either eternal life or shit. If there were no external influences and Fang Yuan could just rely on his own strength, he would be able to accumulate strength and break through when the opportunity comes. However, because of spring-autumn cicada, what he lacked was time. Not only that, if he wasted time and could not make it to some opportunities, the advantage of his rebirth would also be gone. These 3 chances are indeed very precious. Although blindly saving these chances for the future may give the impression that I will be able to make full use of these opportunities, it will, in fact, delay my growth. Specific situations need specific analysis. I cannot blindly follow Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's example, but Ma Hongyun's choices also wasted these 3 chances. After deep and careful contemplation, Fang Yuan made his decision. Land Spirit, I have thought it through. Fang Yuan spoke slowly. This time my request is for you to refine STARGATE Gu. As for the remaining 2 chances, I will leave it for later. You really want me to refine STARGATE Gu? You need to know you're giving up a precious chance to refine Immortal Gu. Maybe you can take a gamble and use that recipe for Blood Deity. Land Spirit instead tried to persuade Fang Yuan. He liked recipes to an extreme degree. Blood Deity's recipe might be damaged, but he still wanted to collect it. Fang Yuan shook his head. When he decided on something, he would not hesitate. No, refine STARGATE Gu. All right. There is no strongest goo worm in this world, only a goo worm that is most suitable for oneself. You can't use Immortal Gu, but looks like this STARGATE Gu is extremely useful to you. I will refine this Gu for you. The Land Spirit Grandpa then willed as he teleported 5 Gu Immortals over. Among these 5 Gu Immortals, one was very ugly, one had a ruddy face, one wore blue clothes, one wore yellow garments, and one wore pink skirt. They were Gi Wang's group. They attacked Xianxia Blessed Land, throwing in their green grape immortal essence to expend Xianxia Blessed Land's white lychee immortal essence. However, the result was that the Land Spirit had intentionally shown weakness in order to capture all of them. Xianxia Blessed Land had rank 8 Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus and would never lack white lychee immortal essence. Gi Wang and the group did not have an Immortal Gu. Thus the Land Spirit enticed them into the Blessed Land. It waited till these 5 rushed into the cloud buildings before confining their rank 5 Gu. Gi Wang and the rest realized the situation was bad, promptly using all their immortal essence, but they could not compare to the Xianxia Land Spirit. The Land Spirit did not use even a single desolate beast to capture these 5 immortals. Having cultivated to this stage, the 5 immortals knew to adapt to the circumstances and immediately chose to save their lives by submitting to the Land Spirit. After finding themselves teleported over, they soon reacted and bowed to the Land Spirit, greeting together, subordinates, greet Lord Xianxia, Land Spirit. The Land Spirit stroked his snow-white beard, recovering his sagely demeanor just like when Fang Yuan first saw him. This is Thieving Heaven Demon, Venerable's inheritor Chang Shan Yin. Greet him. Land Spirit introduced Fang Yuan, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's inheritor. The 5 immortals looked at each other, clearly seeing the shock in each other's eyes. Their contempt towards Fang Yuan because of his mortal identity immediately disappeared. Who was Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable? He was a rank 9 Gu immortal. Since immemorial era to remote antiquity era, Olden Antiquity era, Medieval Antiquity era, Early Antiquity era to present age, only around 10 venerable level Gu immortals had appeared in human history. An inheritor of a rank 9 Gu immortal. This identity shocked the 5 immortals before this shock turned into envy and jealousy. Why don't I have such luck to become an inheritor? This kid's luck is too good, simply too heaven-defying. He actually became Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable's inheritor. Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable had set up many inheritances. It is rumored that his greatest inheritance is in Space Cave. I wonder how many inheritances did he get? The 5 immortals' thoughts surged rapidly while they greeted Fang Yuan. The act of Gu immortals greeting mortals was like an elephant kowtowing to an ant. But the 5 immortals did not feel any humiliation. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan was extremely indifferent. Even if a rank 9 Gu immortal kowtowed to him, he would not feel any honor. If the roles were reversed, even if he had to beg and kneel to a mortal, he would not feel any humiliation. In his eyes, all that would eventually die were equal. The only difference was whether they died early or late. Be it those with status and social class, whether they were nobles or peasants, they were nothing more than a group of fools waiting to die. All of them live in a fake world with self-imposed rules. By comparing the lives of each other, a portion of these fools would feel that they were living a great life. In truth, those fools who think of themselves as nobles or aristocrats were only deceiving themselves. And those fools who think of themselves as lowly are even more pitiful. Are kings given their high status upon birth? All living beings are born equal. Why should one bow to others? There is only immortality. Only eternal life should be the goal one should pursue. If one cannot live forever, is there any difference between a rank 9 Gu immortal and a pile of shit in the gutter? I am a huge fool, but I do not wish to be a fool that is made of shit. There was no way to express such mental behavior and aspirations to others, and even more importantly, Fang Yuan did not want to express them. Fang Yuan indifferently accepted the greetings of the 5 immortals, then looked at Lang Ya Land Spirit. Land Spirit, are you not going to personally refine the Gu? Of course I will personally refine it, but having these 5 as support can be considered making use of trash. Land Spirit snickered. Being called trash and also being disregarded by Fang Yuan caused these 5 immortals' expressions to turn unsightly. Rage was burning in them, but they were captives right now and they could not flare out. They could only helplessly hold in this anger and listen to the land spirit's commands. However, the first try at Gu refinement by former long-hair ancestor who turned into a land spirit, along with the help of 5 immortals, ended up in failure. This STARGATE Gu is rather difficult. There was no mistakes from me, but rather the refinement itself has only a fixed success rate. The land spirit explained and said to Fang Yuan, "Don't worry, STARGATE Gu is only rank 5. I will definitely complete the refinement for you. I will be waiting." Fang Yuan lied down on the cloudbed with no hurry. The time flow in Lang Ya blessed land was 36 times faster than the outside world. Over a month here would only be a day in outside world. The land spirit had inherited long-hair ancestors' arrogance and his temperament became bad when he failed. He glanced at Fang Yuan and saw that he had already finished drinking the cloud mist tea. He casually pointed to an immortal. "You, clumsy and having breasts for brains, I don't need you to refine the Gu. Go make tea for my little friend." The female immortal who was scolded and ordered was Fairy Xianxia. She was furious, but did not dare to flare up as her life was in Lang Ya land spirit's hands. She could only bite her lips and forcibly restrain her anger to steep tea for Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, however, said, "I don't like to drink tea. Do you have wine here?" "I only like drinking top-quality wine. There should be some in your grand Lang Ya blessed land, right?" "Why would there not be? Celestial Horse wine and Destitute wine both are top-quality wine. Which one do you want to drink? Bring out both of them for me to taste," Fang Yuan said without batting an eyelid. Thereupon, Fairy Xianxia became Fang Yuan's serving maid. The Celestial Horse wine was milky white and gave off a thick fragrance of milk. It tasted silky, mellow, and soft. Destitute wine did not have any special color, looking like clear soup, and did not have even a bit of wine fragrance. It also tasted flavorless. However, the after effect was extremely strong. Usually only one mouthful would be enough to make one completely drunk for 7-8 days. Taking advantage of the land spirit refining Gu, Fang Yuan just took a light sip before openly storing these 2 vats of wine in Wolf Swallow Gu. The second Gu refinement attempt also failed. The land spirit's expression became even more unsightly as he howled, "Humps! I don't believe it. I will continue." The land spirit naturally sensed Fang Yuan storing the wine, but right now, because of his self-respect, he chose to ignore it. "Young master, please be merciful and save this servant." Looking at the land spirit and the rest going for third attempt at Gu refinement, Fairy Xianxia implored to Fang Yuan with a soft and weeping voice. Her skin was white and tender, like a lychee whose skin had just been removed. Her eyebrows were bluish-black. Her eyes were like a lake hiding an amorous gaze. Her breasts were very big and her waist was thin. Her figure was endlessly seductive, and one could even say it could shock heart and soul. Right now, as she talked with eyes that had tears in them, let alone men, even women would be moved. If you can save this servant, I am willing to serve you for my whole life and follow your orders. Fairy Xianxia implored again with soft voice. This was a pleading from a female Gu immortal. If it were any other mortal men, they would already be extremely moved and their little brother would furiously rise up. Men all had a desire to conquer, especially if it was conquering a noble woman. But Fang Yuan did not even glance at her. These 5 immortals were all cannon fodder in his past life. They all died in Xianxia blessed land. They paid a proper price for their greed and impulse. Although Fairy Xianxia was beautiful, she was no different from a pile of dung in the gutter, in Fang Yuan's mind. But if I cannot obtain immortality, I am also a pile of shit in the gutter. Hee. Fang Yuan sneered in his mind. Fairy Xianxia was about to plead again. She had complete confidence in her beauty, and right now she had a feeling that this person might be her only chance to escape with her life. However, how could she know Fang Yuan was even more abnormal than Xianxia land spirit? You are too noisy, get lost. Fang Yuan directly kicked the half-leaning, delicate body of Fairy Xianxia. Fairy Xianxia fell down on the floor. She was baffled and could not react for a long while. She was actually rejected. Is he not a man? A strong sense of humiliation struck her proud heart, causing her face to become twisted and her gaze towards Fang Yuan filled with extreme resentment. Fang Yuan scoffed, got off the cloud bed and walked towards Fairy Xianxia. Then he lifted his foot in front of her face. A dull sound was heard. Fairy Xianxia was kicked over and her head struck the floor, producing another heavy dull sound. Her rank 5 Gu worms were all taken away. Under the situation where her immortal essence was used up and was under Xianxia blessed land's suppression as well. How could she be Fang Yuan's match? Fairy Xianxia's lungs were about to burst with anger. Her incisor tooth had broken from the KGK, causing her mouth to fill with blood. She let out a deep growl and her expression turned malevolent compared to her weeping and pitiful look just before. They looked like 2 completely different persons. How can mere beauty entice me? If you look at me one more time, do you believe I will not smash all your teeth? Fang Yuan's dark and deep pupils shone with cruelty. Fairy Xianxia's delicate body shuddered. She tightly clenched her fists and seemed to exhaust all her strength to stand up. But she lowered her head in the end and did not look at Fang Yuan again. At the other side, Stargate Gu's refinement failed again. The land spirit stomped his foot in anger, his expression turning even worse. He was aware of the situation with Fairy Xianxia. He approached Fang Yuan and smiled. Little friend, please don't get angry. I just captured this little thing, so haven't had the time to teach them properly. You can play with her if you want. Make her dance or strip her clothes or do anything you want. Materials have been used up. I will go buy them. Hearing these words, Fairy Xianxia seemed to have fallen into an ice hole. An intense feeling of humiliation surged in her heart like a tide. Make me strip my clothes and dance. This proposal made her feel incomparably cold and afraid. Since young till now, she had never received such treatment. A grand Gu immortal being played with, Fairy Xianxia felt it would be better to die instead. Gi Wang and loner Hong Yu at the side seemed to have been stimulated as they licked their dry lips and looked at Fairy Xianxia with burning gaze. The 2 who were normally close to Fairy Xianxia, like sisters, Fairy Fenmeng and Fairy Qingsuo, remained silent as if they had not heard anything. As the tragedy was about to unfold, Fang Yuan sneered. Strip her clothes, make her dance? No need. What meaning is there in that? Lust? Desire to conquer? Nothing but pointless urges. What I'm interested in now is only Stargate Gu. Chapter 465, The Night Sky is really beautiful. Gi Wang and loner Hong Yu were very disappointed.
Fairy Qing Suo and Fairy Fen Meng let out a breath of turbid air. Their expressions were complex.
The heavy stone in Fairy Huangsha's heart fell and her body completely relaxed, almost falling down to the ground. The hatred in her heart towards Fang Yuan and the land spirit deepened by several times. As long as I can escape, as long as I can make a comeback, I will cut your bodies into 1,000 pieces to relieve this hatred in my heart. Hee. Little friend is indeed worthy of being a demon venerable's inheritor. The land spirit let out a forced laughter and took out Connecting Heaven Gu. This Connecting Heaven Gu turned into a round mirror when it was activated and flew to the top of the land spirit and stayed there. The scene of pitch darkness in the mirror suddenly changed, letting out a bright yellow light. The land spirit activated Divine Sense Gu. Divine Sense was transmitted into the mirror in waves after waves and exchanged with other waves of Divine Sense. At the same time, the surface of the mirror continuously changed and showed pictures of all kinds of materials. The land spirit seemed to have already made an agreement. He took out 2 immortal essence stones out of nowhere and threw into the Connecting Heaven Gu. The surface of the mirror seemed to ripple. The immortal essence stones went into the mirror and materials were spurted out by the mirror, one after another. This time I have bought 20 sets of materials. I don't believe the refinement won't succeed, the land spirit said fiercely. The Gu refinement began again, and at the final stage, bright starlight converged to become a pair of oval stones. Success? The land spirit laughed heartily and handed these 2 oval blue gemstone-like Gu worms to Fang Yuan. This is Stargate Gu. I have finished the agreement. How do I know if it works or not? Fang Yuan held this pair of Stargate Gu and asked. The land spirit fumed in anger, as if it had received a great insult. Are you doubting my Gu refinement ability? You can exchange it if it won't do. All right, I shall take my leave then. Fang Yuan was extremely straightforward and expressed his intent to leave. The land spirit fiercely stared at his eyes. Leaving just like that? Then the remaining 2 chances, you won't use them now. I am saving them for now. Where is the exit? The land spirit waved his hand, teleporting the 5 immortals away. His expression then greatly eased. What recipes do you have now? Write them all out and let me look. None left. If I had any, I would have exchanged them with you. Fang Yuan shirked. I have a feeling, little friend, you have something good still left. The land spirit looked at Fang Yuan doubtfully and mumbled. All right then, I shall wait for your return. The land spirit then waved his sleeve. Fang Yuan's vision blurred, and when it cleared, he saw he was back at the stone forest. Beside him was the stone stool he sat at before, and behind was that purple stone pillar. The stars shone brightly at the sky, the temperature was low, and one could see their breath coming out. Everything before seemed like a dream, causing Fang Yuan to feel like it was all a lifelike illusion. He looked at the sky. He had spent quite some time in Langya Blessed Land, but only 1/36 of that time had passed in the outside world. Stargate Gu, Divine Sense Gu, Connecting Heaven Gu, and the 2 small vat of top-quality wine in Wolf Swallow Gu were clear evidences that allowed Fang Yuan to recall this fortuitous encounter. I had intended to use all the 3 chances, but who knew I could use recipes to exchange for Gu? Thus, I still have 2 chances left. If this Stargate Gu can be used, it would make spending a Gu refinement chance worth it. Fang Yuan thought of this as he left the place and returned to the wolf group. This was a time where he had to make use of every second to prevent causing any complications. Fang Yuan sat cross-legged at the grassy land under the protection of the Wolf Kings and began writing a letter. The letter was soon finished. He then activated Moving Perspective Cup Gu. After a moment, the Moving Perspective Cup exchanged with the other one through the space cave, and Fang Yuan took out a rank 4 Gu and a letter from it. This Gu was like a dried fish, named Dried Pond Gu, and was a water path Gu worm with a special effect. It is used to boost the effects of other Gu worms. Once this Gu arrived in Northern Plains, it was immediately suppressed to rank 3. Fang Yuan browsed through the letter and nodded in satisfaction. During these days, when I was not at the Blessed Land, it seems little Hu Immortal had been extremely diligent and did not forget the task I gave before I left. Refining 20 dried pond Gu, great. Fang Yuan then sent another letter including several praises towards Little Hu Immortal. Master praised me. I am so happy. Little Hu Immortal's face flushed with happiness after she read the letter. Master, I miss you. Little Hu Immortal lied down on the table and started writing. When Master is not here, I feel anxious. Master, are you okay? I'm sending another dried pond goo there. Little Hu Immortal used her delicate small hand to fold the letter properly before putting it into moving perspective cup goo. At the same time, she also added a dried pond goo. After a good while, moving perspective cup goo leisurely flew up and entered Space Cave, exchanging with the other moving perspective cup and appearing before Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan immediately took out the dried pond goo and glanced at the letter. Then he absorbed primeval stones to recover his primeval essence before activating moving perspective cup goo again. After repeating this over and over, he received a total of 8 dried pond goo. If I use the 8 dried pond goo together, their effects should stack up and match a rank 4 level. Fang Yuan crushed these dried pond goo on the spot. The dried pond goo turned into 8 hallows, which twisted around moving perspective cup goo at the same time on Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Little Hu Immortal also crushed 8 dried pond goo and overlaid them on moving perspective cup goo. Moving perspective cup goo was a rank 5 goo, but in Northern Plains it was suppressed to rank 4. Thus, it could only transport rank 4 goo worms. Now, after using 8 dried pond goo, moving perspective cup goo's ability advanced to rank 5 and could transport rank 5 goo. Fang Yuan waited for a while before taking out connecting heaven goo and gravely put it in moving perspective cup goo, then transferred his primeval essence. After successful activation, the 2 moving perspective cup completed their exchange in Space Cave, and the cup with connecting heaven goo appeared in Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Little Hu Immortal cheered and took out the connecting heaven goo. Tiny cracks appeared on moving perspective cup goo. Although dried pond goo could amplify a goo worm's ability, it was like draining the pond to get the fish or burning the forest to hunt. Although it greatly raised the power, the goo worm would perish because of the excessively forced power-up. Next, Fang Yuan sent Divine Sense goo to Hu Immortal Blessed Land, and the cracks on moving perspective cup goo intensified. Fang Yuan silently took out primeval stones and quickly replenished his primeval essence. He then sent 1 blue gemstone of the STARGATE Gu to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Fortunately, STARGATE Gu was not an immortal Gu, but a rank 5 Gu, allowing Fang Yuan to be barely able to use moving perspective cup Gu to send it to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. After the STARGATE Gu was sent to the Blessed Land, moving perspective cup goo had already become deformed with cracks all over it and was on the verge of collapse. At this point, it could still be used for one last time. Fang Yuan stored the moving perspective cup goo in his aperture and did not use it again. He was waiting now. Moving perspective cup goo had been refined by him and possessed his will, but he had already lent it to Little Hu Immortal, thus she could also use it. The several times before were all him using moving perspective cup goo. It was because Hu Immortal Blessed Land's time flow was several times faster than at Northern Plains. If Little Hu Immortal recklessly activated it from the Blessed Land, it was very possible Fang Yuan would not have been prepared. Puff! It is up to Little Hu Immortal now. If she fails, she will have to send another moving perspective cup goo for the final use. Hopefully she can succeed. Before Fang Yuan left, he had refined only 1 set of moving perspective cup goo. But he had reminded Little Hu Immortal. For a period of time, Little Hu Immortal and Immortal Crane Sect had made several transactions and exchanged many goo refinement materials, and had already refined the 2nd set of moving perspective cup goo. Time was becoming somewhat difficult to endure. Whether it was connecting heaven goo or divine sense goo, they were both rank 5 goo and had an extremely huge demand for primeval essence. Even a rank 5 peak stage Goo Master might only be able to last for several breaths. Thus, usually only Goo Immortals or land spirits would consume Immortals' essence to use them. As for why Fang Yuan did not activate moving perspective cup Goo at Langya Blessed Land, it was because he did not want to expose them. If it was exposed, The Langya land spirit would definitely demand for its recipe. Minutes ticked by, and with several times the speed at Hu Immortal Blessed Land. The chilly night wind made Fang Yuan slightly restless. He stood up and began to pace around. The sky was filled with many stars, providing sufficient starlight. The STARGATE Gu in Fang Yuan's hand, however, had no movement. Did it fail? Was that group of starlight firefly Gu at Treasure Yellow Heaven bought by someone else? As time passed by, Fang Yuan's heart continued to sink. He stopped pacing about and stood on the spot for a long while with his hands behind his back. He gazed afar. Crescent Lake sparkled with light and tranquilness. The wolf group beside him, some were standing and some were lying down, all with different postures. He could not help thinking back to that scene when he went to capture the liquor worm at Qingmao Mountain. He broke out in laughter, his worries gone, and his gaze once more became unclouded. All the worries, all the pressure, all the impatience since the start till now dispersed with the wind. He gazed at the night sky and breathed out all the turbid air in him, and suddenly felt that his current life was so beautiful, giving everything to pursue the greatest goal, having no regrets. He came to an understanding. His heart was clear like a mirror that could not be stained by dust, tranquil like this crescent lake. Since his rebirth at Qingmao Mountain, he had always been exhausting his mind, and now he suddenly understood something. This comprehension was unclear as it lingered around his heart, before finally turning into a sentence. He mumbled, "The night sky is really beautiful." This was his heartfelt emotion. The moment he said these words, Fang Yuan's body lightened and felt he had unloaded 1,000 jin of weight as if he was about to fly. His entire disposition also seemed to have changed. The cold aura disappeared without a trace, turning into a clear and carefree aura. The dark pupils with abysmal depths let out a clear light now, just like a newborn baby or like a star. The STARGATE Gu in his hand slightly shook at this moment, and the shaking intensified. Fang Yuan opened his hand. The blue gemstone-like STARGATE Gu leisurely flew in the air. Large amounts of starlight gathered and condensed towards it. The scene was beautiful and dreamy. In an instant, the starlight formed into an enormous oval door. STARGATE Gu had succeeded. Fang Yuan calmly watched it, the corner of his lips slightly curled up into a smile, but his eyes were still calm as water. He unhurriedly stepped into the Stargate. The starlight in front of him turned into a whirlpool and flew away with his body. After a dozen or so breaths of time, he walked out of the Stargate and appeared in Hu Immortal Blessed Land. "Master, you are back." Little Hu Immortal was extremely happy as she leapt into Fang Yuan's chest. Fang Yuan chuckled and rubbed the land spirit's tiny head. "Yes, I am back," he gently said. Chapter 466. There is nothing that cannot be sold. After several months, Fang Yuan finally returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land. The little Hu Immortal Land spirit became very excited upon his return. The flow of time inside of the Immortal Land was 5 times faster compared to the outside world. While Fang Yuan had only spent a few months in Northern Plains, to her, it had already been a year. Fang Yuan looked at the Stargate behind him. This Stargate, compared to the one in Northern Plains, was much smaller. It was about the height of a person, and barely allowed Fang Yuan to fit through. The one at the Crescent Lake in Northern Plains was much taller, and was many times wider. STARGATE Gu isn't split into main and sub-Gu. It consumes too much primeval essence. Even a rank 5 peak stage Gu master cannot sustain it for 3 breaths' time. Only immortal essence could allow it to be used continuously. If little Hu Immortal Land Spirit activates it first, while I hold the other half in my hands and activate it along with her, I will not have to consume primeval essence. However, the STARGATE Gu's activation not only requires large amount of primeval essence, it also needs a large amount of starlight in order to form the gate. Northern Plains is one of the 5 regions. Stars fill the sky and starlight is abundant. But here in the Hu Immortal Blessed Land, the starlight is vastly inferior, as the only source comes from the starlight firefly Gu. As Fang Yuan was inwardly thought to himself, his gaze rested upon the small swarm of starlight firefly Gu that fluttered about in the air. The starlight firefly Gu was a rank 3 Gu, small in size, almost like a normal firefly. but when they were activated, they emitted genuine azure starlight. This swarm of fireflies originally consisted of more than 500, but because of the activations of the STARGATE Gu, 32 of them already died. In order to maintain the activated STARGATE Gu, one firefly dies in every 3 breaths' time. 500 starlight firefly Gu, while it may seem like a large amount, it could not maintain the gate for a long period of time. Because of this, Fang Yuan commanded Little Hu Immortal to deactivate the STARGATE Gu. The STARGATE dissipated and reverted back into an oval sapphire. Little Hu Immortal stretched out her pale and delicate hands and commanded the precious STARGATE Gu to return to her. "Master, here you go." Little Hu Immortal cupped the STARGATE Gu with both of her hands and looked up with her big watery eyes, offering the STARGATE Gu to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan gently rubbed her little fox ears and gave her a soft smile. "I'm leaving it with you, so take good care of it. If I need to use it in the future, I will contact you using the moving perspective cup Gu." "Yes, Master. I'll definitely take good care of it." Little Hu Immortal solemnly put the STARGATE Gu within the small pocket of her dress and patted it with her tiny hand. As for the STARGATE Gu in northern plains, it rested on the grassland, closely guarded by the myriad wolf pack. "Master, there are 2 pieces of immortal essence stones left. I listened to your instructions using the immortal Gu recipe to trade for the starlight firefly Gu. This is the excess." Little Hu Immortal presented them to him. Normal primeval stones were the size of duck eggs and were gray in color. Immortal essence stones were also the size of duck eggs, but were not oval in shape. Rather, they were round like pearls, and the entire body was glossy, having a translucent and sparkly appearance. They resembled crystals, but had the luster of jade. If normal primeval stones were equated to mortals, then the immortal essence stones could be equated to immortals. Immortal essence stones were extremely precious, as it can be used to replenish immortal essence. In addition, it was also used in transactions between immortals, adopted as a precious currency. In the vast Gu world, only the heavenly court could produce immortal essence stones. "I see immortal essence stones once again." Fang Yuan smiled with a sigh. These 2 immortal essence stones were incredibly valuable, more valuable than 200 million primeval essence stones. In his previous 500 years, the most number of immortal essence stones Fang Yuan had held at one point in time was merely over 60 pieces. Fang Yuan put away the immortal essence stones. "Good. Let's return to Dang Hun Mountain." Little Hu Immortal grew delighted upon hearing this and quickly held Fang Yuan's hand, and in the next moment they teleported inside Dang Hun Palace. "Quickly activate the connecting heaven Gu," Fang Yuan commanded. There was another STARGATE Gu was in northern plains. He could not relax. Trouble brews as time passes. Fang Yuan should act quickly and efficiently settle the matters of Hu Immortal Blessed Land. Little Hu Immortal promptly activated the connecting heaven Gu. Whole Earth Gu, once planted in the Blessed Land, could no longer be changed. It was the same for connecting heaven Gu. Fang Yuan's connecting heaven Gu, since it was linked to treasure yellow heaven, it could no longer be altered. Little Hu Immortal consumed a slight amount of immortal essence, and the entire body of the Gu worm grew into a round mirror and floated in the air. Reflected in the mirror was a scene of treasure yellow heaven. The grotto heaven was deserted and absolutely empty, with a lemon-like yellow color dyeing the air slightly. The grotto heaven was devoid of any mountains, vegetation, and animals which were usually found in ordinary grotto heavens. Above blessed lands were grotto heavens. The most famous grotto heaven was recorded within. It was the famous immemorial 9 heavens. Verdant Great Sun refined the fixed immortal travel Gu and flew up to the 9 heavens. In azure heaven, he obtained a segment of the jade-green jade bamboo. In blue heaven, he collected the 8-sided diamonds inside the star fragments. The immemorial 9 heavens consisted of white heaven, red heaven, orange heaven, yellow heaven, green heaven, azure heaven, blue heaven, purple heaven, and black heaven. But later, when Ren Zhu's sun caused havoc in heaven and earth, red, orange, yellow, green, azure, blue, and purple, the 7 heavens were destroyed consecutively, and all that remained were white and black heavens, with the two alternating between day and night. The treasure yellow heaven was closely related to the yellow heaven of the immemorial 9 heavens. In the medieval antiquity era, a rank 8 Gu immortal, known as Daoist Countless Treasures, acquired a fragment of yellow heaven by chance. He fused the fragment into his grotto heaven and formed treasure yellow heaven. Treasure yellow heaven was a very unique grotto heaven. It was empty without any mountains, trees, or rivers, and there were also no birds, beasts, worms, or fish. There were only precious treasure within. There was a rank 8 immortal Gu in treasure yellow heaven, treasure light Gu. Rank 1 to rank 3 treasure light Gu were everywhere. Rank 4 to rank 5 treasure light Gu were often held in the hands of large forces. Above rank 5, the treasure light immortal Gu, of course, there was only one, which was inside treasure yellow heaven. Treasure light Gu specialized in assessing the value of an item. The greater the value of the item, the brighter the light of the treasure light Gu. In Shangclan City, the battle stage would use the treasure light Gu to evaluate the value of their various Gu worms and thus assess the strength of the Gu master. The main application of treasure light Gu was not merely appraisal, but it could also be used to search for treasure. The range of the treasure light Gu was small and often had to be used in tandem with other Gu worms to boost its detection range. In the past, Daoist Countless Treasures used the immortal Gu treasure light to find countless number of treasures. As time passed, he gained his reputation and title of Countless Treasures. Little Hu Immortal continuously activated the connecting heaven Gu. The image in the mirror changed constantly as pictures of various objects appeared. Gu worms, beast groups, variant humans, vegetation, ore veins, soil, water, quality wine, and other various supplies, all that could be bought was sold. Suddenly, the screen displayed a swarm of starlight firefly Gu. Master, this is sold by Starlord Wan Shang. Little Hu Immortal Land Spirit used the Divine Sense Gu to communicate with the merchant. Starlight Firefly Gu cannot reproduce. I need a large amount of ordinary starlight fireflies. Fang Yuan nodded as he said. Little Hu Immortal communicated for a while, then turned to Fang Yuan. Master, Star-Lord Wan Xiang said he's not selling. Fang Yuan was not upset, but instead chuckled. Hee, there is nothing that cannot be sold in this world. Not selling merely means the price isn't high enough. The benefits are not enough to entice them. As he spoke, he recalled the remnant recipes of a few immortal Gu. He wrote them down on a piece of cowhide and threw it into the connecting heaven Gu. The cowhide was completely ordinary, but because it recorded the remnant recipes of immortal Gu, it was invaluable. Once it passed through the connecting heaven Gu and arrived at treasure yellow heaven, all of the cowhide pieces showed 3 to 9 meters of treasure light. This treasure light was rainbow-colored, a beautiful mix of purple and red. It was exceptionally beautiful. Inform him that the price is negotiable. Fang Yuan gave a bright smile and informed Little Hu Immortal. He wasn't afraid of Star-Lord Wan Xiang's refusal. Immortal Gu were incomparably enticing to Gu Immortals. Although they were just remnant recipes, they were still often in high demand without ample supply. Looking at those Gu Immortals who had lived for a long time and had great foundations, which one of them did not have tens of immortal Gu remnant recipes in their hands. But these remnant recipes were rarely sold. Similar or closely related immortal Gu remnant recipes, when combined with each other, would often allow the actual recipe to be discovered. After the immortal Gu were refined using the recipe, no one else would be able to create them. Because of this, the immortal Gu remnant recipes were rarely traded. Even if they were sold, it would be to exchange remnant recipes for remnant recipes. Earlier, Fang Yuan had only given the most lacking recipe that he could remember. The treasure light only glowed for 1 meter, and Star-Lord Wan Xiang gave him a swarm of starlight fireflies and 2 immortal essence stones in exchange. Now, with so many secret recipes, the treasure light was at least 3 meters. Star-Lord Wan Xiang had to be moved. These remnant recipes, once sent in, attracted countless gazes within treasure yellow heaven. A large number of divine senses were immediately sent over. Little Hu Immortal had to use the divine sense Gu until her little cheeks turned pale. Master, so many Gu Immortals have sent their divine senses over, asking for the price for these remnant recipes. Fang Yuan gave a laugh. Send a message over. Tell them. Each of these recipes can be sold, but they have to queue up one by one. Tell them about the Starlight Firefly. Demand at least 100,000. Little Hu Immortal sent her divine sense over, and immediately someone called Fairy Yao Guang, a female Gu Immortal, said that she nurtured a large number of starlight fireflies in her blessed land and wished to exchange. Fang Yuan smiled. As expected, Starlord Wen Xiang also changed his attitude, repeatedly approaching him with offers. A third Gu Immortal, calling himself Di Yuan, said he possessed a large number of starlight fireflies. Fang Yuan paused for a short while, and when he did not see another Gu Immortal making an offer, he could help but let out a sigh of sorrow. These starlight fireflies were immemorial creatures. By the present age, only a small amount were still around. With competitors, everything became easier. Fang Yuan stayed silent and let the three immortals bid against each other. This was an undisguised scheme, but how could there be any morons who cultivated to the level of Gu Immortal? The three immortals did not bid against each other aggressively. Instead, they negotiated properly, each offering 33,000 starlight fireflies. The three groups of starlight fireflies entered the connecting heaven Gu respectively, each emitting a treasure light. Among them, Fairy Yao Guang's group of fireflies emitted the most feeble light, only 3 meters in length. The Yuan's fireflies emitted a treasure light of 5.5 meters, while Starlord Wan Xiang's fireflies emitted the most powerful light, 7 meters in length. This was because there were many starlight firefly Gu mixed in with his group of fireflies. It seemed this Starlord Wan Xiang nurtured a lot of starlight fireflies. I remember now, originally after the Stargate Gu appeared, Starlord Wan Xiang acted quickly and relied on selling starlight fireflies Gu to earn a large amount of immortal essence stones. Fang Yuan suddenly recalled this bit of information. 500 years of memories contained too much information. Many details were not clear, but upon seeing this, his originally obscure memory became clearer. After the appearance of the Stargate Gu, the price of starlight firefly Gu also rose like a boat riding the tide. In the future, the treasure Yellow Heaven would not even sell starlight firefly swarms anymore, but only sold starlight firefly Gu. Gu worms cannot reproduce, but only ordinary insects had that capability. Immediately, Fang Yuan traded 3 recipes and obtained over 100,000 starlight fireflies. As long as he bred them carefully afterwards, Fang Yuan would be able to produce his own starlight firefly Gu and not need to pay an exorbitant price to purchase them in the future. Chapter 467, Wisdom Path. Despite having purchased over 100,000 starlight fireflies, the trade was far from over. Fang Yuan also needed to take care of the issue of feeding these insects. Starlight fireflies consume star fragment grass. I happen to have a large amount of star fragment grass on me. I can sell them to you. Starlord Wan Xiang conveyed his thoughts using divine sense. I need the seeds as well as your farming knowledge. Let's look at the treasure light intensity first. Fang Yuan spoke through Little Hu Immortal, who relayed the information to Starlord Wan Xiang, Fairy Yao Guang, and Di Yuan using divine sense. Soon, 3 documents entered into treasure Yellow Heaven, each giving off a strong treasure light. This time, instead of Starlord Wan Xiang, it was Fairy Yao Guang's document which had the greatest treasure light at nearly 2 meters tall. I am most fond of growing grass. I deliberately migrated a small swarm of starlight fireflies for the production of star fragment grass. If you follow my instructions, you will definitely not suffer losses. Fairy Yao Guang conveyed with her divine sense. Fang Yuan contemplated. Originally, he had already forgotten about it. After all, in his previous life, he had had no use for and had never used the Stargate Gu. Now, through the successive reminders from Lang Yalan Spirit, connecting Heaven Gu, and Starlord Wan Xiang, his brain gradually began to recall more distinct memories. In his memories, on Stargate Gu came into the limelight. Everything related to Starlight Firefly Gu became secret. Not a single person wanted to sell information. Now that Lang Yalan Spirit had obtained Stargate Gu's recipe, perhaps it might refine the Stargate Gu, then put it in Treasure Yellow Heaven for sale. Once the Stargate Gu is put up for sale in Treasure Yellow Heaven, getting more of such secret information will not be easy. Thinking of that, Fang Yuan made his decision. He let little Hu Immortal transmit his thoughts. I will buy from all three of you. We'll deal using immortal essence stones. The purchasing power of immortal essence stones was very high. One piece of immortal essence stone could purchase all three documents with a quarter remaining. Fang Yuan opened the three documents and saw many things written on them. Star fragment grass can only be planted in the sky. It grows on clouds. Therefore, it is a good idea to use high-quality cloud soil. Star fragment grass is fond of yin energy, but loathes yang energy. Therefore, excessive sunlight can kill the star fragment grass. However, it cannot be completely derived of light. The amount it requires is about. If starlight fireflies live in the star fragment grass, it will aid in spreading the seeds and possibly increase the area that the grass can grow in, as well as its quality. Among the three documents, Diyuan was simple and brief. Starlord Wan Xiang had innovative ideas, and Fairy Yao Guang was verbose and detailed. Fang Yuan used their knowledge to make up for his shortcomings and quickly memorized everything. In an instant, he became an expert in cultivating star fragment grass. He laughed internally. With this, I will become the largest seller of starlight fireflies in the future. When the STARGATE Gu becomes popular, I will make a fortune. It's time to buy liquor. Fang Yuan did not forget the need to purchase top-quality wine. He had already collected 3 kinds of top-quality wines. This was the last one left. Within Treasure Yellow Heaven, naturally, top-quality wine was sold. It was primarily used to refine Gu by Gu immortals, but it was also an excellent beverage for enjoying life. But when Fang Yuan wanted to purchase his wine, the whole of Treasure Yellow Heaven erupted as countless divine senses were stirred up. Immortal Gu. Someone is selling immortal Gu. Little Hu Immortal Land Spirit cried out. The mirror flashed, and the image of an immortal Gu appeared. Divine Travel Gu. Fang Yuan's pupils shrunk. The immortal Gu that was being sold was exactly the one he needed, Divine Travel Gu. Someone was one step ahead of him and had already grabbed possession of the Divine Travel Gu. Sigh, after all is said and done, I was late by one step. Fang Yuan was stunned for a moment, then laughed out loud. He wanted to refine Second Aperture Gu, thus he needed Divine Travel Gu. But in Three Kings' blessed land, due to the circumstances, he refined Divine Travel Gu into Fixed Immortal Travel Gu. According to the records, in less than consuming 4 top-quality wines was the criteria to obtain Divine Travel. Gu. Fang Yuan had been collecting wine for this purpose, but now someone was a step ahead of him. Without Divine Travel Gu, the Second Aperture Gu would be stuck at the last step. I won't be able to complete it. Thankfully, there is still a few decades of its lifespan. All in all, it was because I was too high profile on Xianxia Mountain when I refined the Gu, causing everyone to know about it. It is not strange that someone snatched it from me. Fang Yuan shrugged. He had predicted this long ago. When he used Divine Travel Gu to refine Fixed Immortal Travel Gu, it was seen by a lot of Gu masters. This definitely caused a great commotion. The Gu immortals in southern border were not idiots. How could they not act? But earlier, Fang Yuan was banking on the competition between Gu immortals, that they would restrict each other and delay their progress. Thus he was working hard to collect the wines. In life, there were always a few things that one had to work hard for, despite a low chance of success, so that they would not have regrets. If they did not even work for it, then it would be absolutely hopeless. Regarding matters in this world, most do not go according to one's wishes. I am used to that. But since this Divine Travel Gu was put up for transaction here, I have to take a look. There might still be a chance. Fang Yuan took it in his stride. He did not worry about losses or boast over gains. His mind was always peaceful and calm. Since Treasure Yellow Heaven was the greatest transaction market among Gu immortals, there were very rare instances where immortal Gu were sold. These transactions were mostly using immortal Gu to trade for immortal Gu, but the Gu immortal who sold the Divine Travel Gu, Old Man Yan Shi, had a rather peculiar transaction request. I want to use this Divine Travel Gu to exchange for the Second Aperture Gu's recipe. The information in this request was too stunning. It created a lot of commotion. In Treasure Yellow Heaven, The divine senses of all sorts of Gu immortals were interacting with each other, turning the scene into chaos. Divine travel Gu, to think that we will get to see this legendary Gu worm today. Although it is an immortal Gu, the divine travel Gu's ability is way too random. Back then, even Renzu's son got into trouble using it. It will be even more dangerous for us tiny Gu immortals. But divine travel Gu is still an immortal Gu, keeping it with you. When you are forced into a dead end, you can use it to gamble at the moment of despair. Compared to the divine travel Gu, I am more interested in the second aperture, Gu's recipe. That's right, I've heard of the second aperture Gu long ago, but to think the recipe really exists. A second aperture. Immortals might not understand the full value of this, but to us, Gu immortals, who would not be moved. Fang Yuan had already stood up, gazing at the connecting heaven Gu in midair. He had the second aperture Gu's recipe. He just needed a thought to exchange for this Gu. But this old man Xianxia, who is selling the divine travel Gu, is coming for me. He requested for the second aperture Gu's recipe, and his timing in selling this Gu was neither early nor late. He picked the exact moment when I was browsing through. Impressive. This Gu immortal is mostly likely on the immemorial wisdom path. He is adept at predictions and deductions. The fact that I had used connecting heaven Gu and was trading in treasure yellow heaven was already foreseen by him. Wisdom path was a very mysterious path among Gu masters. It had been passed down since the immemorial era, but the numbers were always very small. The creator of the wisdom path was star constellation Immortal Venerable, the lord of the second generation heavenly court. She lived for 19,000 years and had the second longest lifespan among the rank 9 Gu immortals. Before she died, she deduced from the heavenly secret and obtained the information of all that happened 3 million years after her death. She found out that after her death, the heavenly court would be without a lord for a long time, causing a long period of turmoil as 3 demon venerables appear. She made 3 arrangements that dealt with each of the 3 demon venerables respectively. Next, she instructed her descendants to follow what she said to ensure that the heavenly court was peaceful for 300 years. After she died, there was a huge turmoil indeed as the era shifted, as during 3 great generations, 3 demon venerables appeared one after another. The 3 demon venerables were invincible during their times, attacking the heavenly court, but were obstructed by star constellation Immortal Venerable's plans, failing and causing the heavenly court to stay intact. Wisdom path Gu immortal. Old man Xianxia. Fang Yuan squinted his eyes, muttering. It was not a good thing to be targeted by a wisdom path Gu immortal. Wisdom path Gu immortals knew about the heavenly secret and were most skilled at making arrangements ahead of time and making predictions about the future. Often, they could scheme against people without them knowing, causing others to fall into traps unknowingly. I gathered too much attention in southern border and ended up attracting a wisdom path Gu immortal. In this life, I was courageous and made great progress, charging through a dangerous cliff. I went too fast, and with just my mortal body, I gained the attention of a Gu immortal. Such a scenario was like an ant attracting the attention of an elephant. At once, Fang Yuan could almost see a pair of wise and scheming eyes piercing through the connecting heaven Gu to observe himself. The air was filled with formless pressure. But Fang Yuan's state of mind was no longer like before. He laughed with his head up high, dispelling the pressure in his heart. Good. The schemes of a wisdom path Gu immortal makes this much more interesting. Just a mere divine travel Gu, just a mere second aperture Gu, how can that entice me? His 500 years of experience nurtured a keen instinct that was sensitive to danger. Fang Yuan had a vague feeling this divine travel Gu was likely bait that old man Xianxia was using to attract him. Although an immortal Gu is good, my goal is eternal life. This so-called immortal Gu is merely a tool in my cultivation journey. At the same time, in southern border, Xianxia blessed land, an old man wearing a black robe gave off the eerie aura of a rank 7 Gu immortal as he sat on the cushion silently. His face was wrinkled, his eyes were dark without any white parts in them. He stared at the connecting heaven Gu in the sky, feeling the divine senses moving about inside treasure yellow heaven. He was expressionless and motionless. It was old man Xianxia. Before the old man was the kneeling killer ghost Dr. Gu. He looked at connecting heaven Gu for a long time before showing disappointment. Supreme Master, it seems that Fang Yuan did not take the bait. Old man Xianxia smiled, not showing any annoyance. This tiny fish is interesting. He is able to let go so easily. As a mere mortal, his disposition surpasses a large number of Gu immortals. But he was too daring. He turned you into his slave and messed with us Shadow Sect. He is simply courting death. Ju quickly bowed, all thanks to Supreme Master's return. Otherwise, I would have suffered the fate of being a slave for life. Old man Xianxia raised his head. Little disciple, I have already altered the slavery Gu on you. I calculated that Fang Yuan would join the righteous demonic battle of Yitian Mountain. At that time, you can be a spy by his side and wait for a chance to strike. Yes, Supreme Master. Go down and call your junior sister, Bai Ningbing. Yes, this disciple takes his leave. Translator's thoughts, Chibi General Junior Sister. Chapter 468 - Scheme. An immortal Gu was hovering in the air, emitting quiet and exquisite light. A lemon-colored halo completely covered Bai Ningbing's body and sank into her aperture. Yellow-green light-colored vines had already creeped around her aperture walls, densely attached to the walls. After a moment, old man Xianxia took a deep breath and recalled the immortal Gu back to his aperture. All right, I have used Everlasting Gu's ability on your aperture. You will be fine for the next 3 months. According to your cultivation speed, you must come here after 3 months to reinforce your aperture again. It has already been a long time since the Xianxia mountain battle. Bai Ningbing's aptitude had already recovered to 100%, restoring one of the 10 extreme aptitudes. Northern Dark Ice Soul Physique. 100% Primavalescence emitted an extremely great pressure on her aperture. If not for old man Xianxia using Everlasting Gu to reinforce her aperture, Bai Ningbing would not have survived till now. Although old man Xianxia was her life-saving benefactor, Bai Ningbing did not feel any gratitude. Instead, she stood upright with an ice-cold demeanor. After old man Xianxia took away the immortal Gu, she opened her blue eyes, her gaze cold and her expression indifferent. She was no more the novice greenhorn kid from back then. By traveling alongside Fang Yuan, she had learned many things. Old man Xianxia had taken the initiative to look for her after knowing about her through Ju, clearly to make use of her. Her joining Shadow Sect was also no more than a transaction. Old man Xianxia smiled warmly. Bai Ningbing, as long as you sincerely pledge allegiance to Shadow Sect and make a new sea oath, I will turn you back to a male. No need. You are helping me to suppress my aperture, so I am joining Shadow Sect temporarily to help you deal with Fang Yuan and obtain fixed immortal travel Gu from him. This is nothing more than a fair transaction. As for my male body, I will personally retrieve it. Only then can it be spectacular. How could I, Bai Ningbing, do something like relying on others? Bai Ningbing then turned around and left. Only when she exited the secret room did Bai Ningbing's ice-cold expression loosen up. Her brows furrowed and her gaze turned cold. She did not like this rank 7 wisdom path, Gu immortal old man Xianxia. She always felt he had a hidden motive. Although the other was a Gu immortal, Bai Ningbing had never feared death. As a person who was not afraid of death, why would she be afraid of Gu immortals? However, they had the same objective. Both of them wanted to deal with Fang Yuan, so Bai Ningbing agreed to this transaction and joined Shadow Sect temporarily. Fang Yuan? When she thought of him, Bai Ningbing could not help thinking back to the scene at Three Kings' blessed land. Under countless people's eyes, Fang Yuan flew towards heaven and with a mortal body refined an immortal Gu. Shortly after, Three Kings' blessed land collapsed and everyone fell into chaos as they hurried to leave Xianxia Mountain. Winds of assimilation blew and wiped out the whole Xianxia Mountain until it was a barren land. Little Beast King's name was talked by countless people and soon spread to the whole southern border crazily. Fang Yuan disappeared and Gu immortals gave orders to all their forces to look for him. Bai Ningbing, who had traveled together with him, naturally became a target all great forces chased after. Whether it was righteous path or demonic path, they all wanted to get her. If not for Wei Yang's sense of brotherhood and thus intentionally let go of Bai Ningbing, as well as her meeting Chu Ju while gravely injured, Bai Ningbing would have been a captive somewhere already. After Chu Ju healed her injuries, he made a proposal to her to join Shadow Sect and deal with Fang Yuan together. After Bai Ningbing's scheme against Fang Yuan failed, she was even confident of her guess that Fang Yuan had a prediction Gu. And when she heard behind Chu Ju was a similar predictive wisdom path Gu Immortal, she could not help but be moved. Although she did not fear death, she was truly not resigned to losing her life like that and letting Fang Yuan live. It would be her greatest defeat and was too lackluster. Thus, she agreed to Chu Ju's request and temporarily joined Shadow Sect, making an oath in front of the Immortal Gu, see Oath Gu, with Old Man Yan Shi and Chu Ju. She was free to leave and regain her freedom once they killed Fang Yuan. At the same time, Shadow Sect cannot directly or indirectly make a move against her. When Bai Ningbing's receding figure disappeared, Old Man Yan Shi's expression slowly turned dark. Bai Ningbing had a demonic nature, causing even this wisdom path, Gu Immortal Old Man Yan Shi, to find it hard to control her. This kid has no care for laws and morality, and is only joining hands with me because of the situation. She is absolutely not someone who will stay under others for long. Old Man Yan Shi's gaze was extremely profound. But it is not important. I have planned for so many years in my quest for immortality. Why would I be afraid of the tiny ripples that this little fish can create? Old Man Yan Shi coldly snorted and turned his gaze to connecting heaven Gu's screen. Right at this time, a divine sense was transmitted to him. I have second aperture Gu's recipe here. I want to exchange with your divine travel, Gu. The owner of the divine sense called himself Langya, Old Immortal. He. Old Man Yan Shi laughed heartily. The fish has taken the bait. Who said this bait could only lure Fang Yuan? Fang Yuan was only a small fish. Langya Land Spirit was the true big fish. Langya Blessed Land is rumored to have stored countless recipes. It has dropped from a grotto heaven to a blessed land, and in the present age it can be said to be the #1 blessed land. Even more importantly, this blessed land has a lot of immortal Gu as well. Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus is at the top. I must obtain it. Old Man Yan Shi's eyes flickered with a burning light filled with avarice. He had been scheming since a long time ago. In actual fact, the second aperture Gu recipe that Langya Blessed Land had was intentionally due to his planning. With Langya Land Spirit's love for collecting recipes and refining Gu, he would definitely want to refine second aperture Gu. Now, I have to wait for a good opportunity. Old Man Yan Shi sneered at the side, while sending out his divine sense to accept Langya Land Spirit's offer and began their transaction at Treasure Yellow Heaven. Divine Travel Gu came out from the mirror. Even if the Connecting Heaven Gu's ability had been amplified by many other Gu, it still caused the Connecting Heaven Gu to be filled with cracks and after several breaths, completely collapsed. Langya Land Spirit did not care about this Connecting Heaven Gu. There were still many Connecting Heaven Gu left in the Blessed Land. The Land Spirit looked at Divine Travel Gu with a burning gaze and laughed heartily. I had already wanted to refine second aperture Gu. This is really too good. He took out another Connecting Heaven Gu on the spot and connected to Treasure Yellow Heaven, looking for Gu refinement materials without restraint. An easy prey. Old Man Yan Shi laughed heartily as he looked at this scene through Connecting Heaven Gu. A heavyweight transaction relating to immortal Gu naturally would be noticed by many Gu immortals. Fang Yuan was also paying attention. Who bought the Divine Travel Gu? Fang Yuan's gaze flashed and immediately asked Little Hu Immortal. It is Langya Old Immortal. Little Hu Immortal replied with clear voice. Langya Land Spirit. Just like what I expected. Fang Yuan slightly narrowed his eyes before concentrating on Connecting Heaven Gu again. After a moment, he discovered Langya Land Spirit wantonly buying Gu refinement materials. His eyes flashed with rays of cold light. So many Gu immortals are dumping precious Gu refinement materials to Langya Land Spirit. This is clearly a trap. The land spirits have wisdom, but their obsessions are much deeper and can be easily exploited by Gu immortals. Wait a second. Fang Yuan's thoughts suddenly shook. The immortals selling the Gu refinement materials were Metal Path, Gu Immortal Tai Jia Zi, Soul Path Gu Immortal Wangan Yang, Wood Path Gu Immortal Fairy Tan Xiang, Enslavement Path Gu Immortal Great Immortal Shu Xiang. These names were familiar. Weren't they the Gu immortals who participated in the second wave of attacks against Xianxia Blessed Land? For a moment, Fang Yuan's eyes flickered with sharp light. He became aware of an enormous scheme that had not been recorded in the history. So it was like this. In my past life, Xianxia Blessed Land endured 6 waves of attack before finally collapsing in the 7th wave. So there were manipulators behind the scene. They were hatching a sinister plot. Before, Fang Yuan was only an audience, but now that he was involved, he discovered this truth. This old man Yan Shi's purpose in selling divine travel Gu is not just to aim at me. His bigger target is Xianxia Blessed Land. Out of the 7 waves of attack, how many did he organize? If he is Southern Borders Gu Immortal, then why would these Northern Plains Gu Immortals listen to his arrangements? Is he indirectly making use of them, or did he give them a direct order? No doubt, the Wisdom Path Gu Immortal Old Man Yan Shi had organized a group of immortals. Just this information created a formless pressure. Fang Yuan did not know right now that this organization was the shadow sect he had heard before. But this did not hinder him from guessing the strength and the mystery of this organization. An organization that spanned across Southern Border and Northern Plains. How big would it be? But Fang Yuan had never heard of such an organization, even in the 500 years of his past life. How mysterious was this organization? Of course, all these speculations are based on the foundation that Old Man Yan Shi is a Gu immortal of Southern Border. Maybe it is all just a coincidence. Let me think again. Did Old Man Yan Shi plan the first wave of attack? As for the next waves of attack, did he have a hand in them? As for the 7th wave, it was Heavenly Court's move. That was absolutely not something Old Man Yan Shi could control. Fang Yuan was certain of this. Heavenly Court was high above others. It originated from Central Continent and had a formidable background. It was not something an immortal of Southern Border could interfere in. Among the 5 great regions since ancient times till now, the greatest Gu immortal organization was only the Heavenly Court. Heavenly Courts might make people feel suffocation. Only rank 8 and rank 9 Gu immortals could establish their presence there. This point could be judged from the conclusion. After the Heavenly Court made their move, they left after taking away all the recipes in Xianxia Blessed Land. Where was Old Man Yan Shi at that time in my previous life? Old Man Yan Shi was a mysterious character who had hidden in the depths of the history. Behind him was a mysterious organization that had influence in both Northern Plains and Southern Border, 2 great regions. Wisdom Path Gu Immortal, a mysterious organization, Heavenly Court. The path to immortality is truly fraught with danger at every step. When I burst through these obstacles, how great would I feel? The higher the difficulty and stronger the enemies, the more fighting spirit Fang Yuan would have. The path he was walking on was destined to be a lonely one from the start, destined to make an enemy of the world. Heavenly Court and the mysterious organization were like 2 giant beasts blocking this path. At the same time, this dark path was filled with thorns, traps, and schemes. This was an incomparably difficult path, and no one had been able to reach the end since ancient times. Fang Yuan, however, was fighting by himself, marching by himself, and waging war by himself. The source of all his motivation was the simplest, most insatiable, most sneered at, and most incomprehensible. Dream. A seemingly unrealistic dream about eternal life. Whether he could succeed or not, Fang Yuan had never considered it. He only knew that even if he failed and died, he would have no regrets. Today, through a transaction, he discovered the whirlpool that had been hidden in the shadows. Then he looked at the prospects of his own path, which was filled with incomparable darkness, incomparable danger, and dead ends at almost every step. Since there is no path to walk on, I shall carve out my own path. Fang Yuan smiled, his gaze containing a profound light and his disordered thoughts all tidied up as he once again concentrated on connecting Heaven Gu. It was time to buy Relic. Chapter 469, Living Chess. Relic Gu can directly increase the foundation of the aperture, raising a Gu master's cultivation realm. From rank 1 to 5, they were green copper, red steel, white silver, yellow gold, and purple crystal Relic Gu. Relic Gu were mortal Gu. There were no rank 6 and above immortal Gu for it. Among them, green copper, red steel, and white silver Relic Gu were widely sold in the market. As for yellow gold and purple crystal Relic Gu, because they affected the battle strength of rank 4 and 5 Gu masters, and could influence the status of many forces, they were restricted and controlled by large organizations and were hardly sold in the market. But in Treasure Yellow Heaven, yellow gold and purple crystal Relic Gu were available. Gu immortals could not raise their cultivation through purple crystal Relic Gu, but they were still very rare Gu. Because not only could these two Gu be used to rank cultivation, they were used to refine immortal Gu as well. In immortal Gu recipes, they were often used as important catalysts. Other than refinement, if a Gu immortal had descendants, they would collect many Relic Gu for their clans or juniors to use. Thus, in Treasure Yellow Heaven, although rank 1 to 3 Relic Gu were sold in batches, there were few rank 4 yellow gold Relic Gu, and even less purple gold Relic Gu. Yellow gold, purple crystal Relic Gu, these were widely used in immortal Gu recipes. When Fang Yuan refined the Spring-Autumn Cicada and the second Aperture Gu, he used them in the process. In fact, even the immortal Gu blood deity's remnant recipe also required large amounts of Relic Gu. But because immortal Gu were involved, prices of Relic Gu were always sky high. Even so, this situation was way better than the mortal realm's restrict control. Fang Yuan immediately bought 3 purple crystal Relic Gu and spent a great sum to buy an immediate success Gu. This Gu was much more expensive than purple crystal Relic Gu because it could raise the success rate of Gu refinement. Thereafter, Fang Yuan bought a large number of low-rank Gu and refinement materials, preparing to refine rank 5 breath concealment Gu and others. Although Treasure Yellow Heaven could inspect the treasure light, just the height of the light could not detect whether the Gu worm had been tampered with. Thus, it is not very safe, and Fang Yuan decided to refine the Gu himself to be safe. Selling all the remnant recipes in his hand and buying large amounts of resources, after deducting Treasure Yellow Heaven's processing fee, Fang Yuan had 28 pieces of immortal essence stones left in his possession. Of course, he could repeatedly sell these immortal Gu remnant recipes, but their corresponding treasure light would decrease. Only after an amount of time would the treasure light recover. Transactions in Treasure Yellow Heaven heavily depended on the treasure light. The stronger the light, the higher the price. When the treasure light weakened, the sale price would fall as well. After all, the value of remnant recipes drop when more people know about them. If he continued to sell them, Fang Yuan's earning will decrease, and the Gu immortals who bought them earlier would feel that they suffered a loss. Waiting for a period of time before selling it again benefited both parties. The seller sells at the original price, while buyers gain a lot of precious time to research on the recipe. After all, immortal Gu were unique once they were created. This way, the most precious recipes I have left are Spring-Autumn Cicada, second Aperture Gu, and the remnant recipe of Blood Deity. As for the other recipes, I can sell them again, but only in a few months. This time obviously referred to the 5 regions time. As for the other recipes, like using divine travel, Gu to refine fixed immortal travel Gu were known by all. There would be no light if it was placed into Treasure Yellow Heaven. Rockman, I have to provide them to Immortal Crane Sect. This is to make sure Immortal Crane Sect does not find out the truth, so that I can relieve our tensions and stall for time. Now that Dang Hun Mountain was dying, the production of guts, Gu, were decreasing. The number of rockmen in each transaction had been dropping as Immortal Crane Sect's patience was running thin. They would fight eventually, but Fang Yuan had to stall for as much time as he could. But thankfully, they would only think that I was defending Hu Immortal Blessed Land from the inside and was a trapped fish. They would never expect me to have gone to Northern Plains and was even able to return. Even that old man Yan Shi would not see this coming. Wisdom Path Gu immortals were skilled at deductions and predictions, but they could not gain information out of nothing. They had to use all sorts of clues and traces to track back to the source and make their deductions. Fang Yuan's vital Gu was spring-autumn cicada. His greatest advantage was rebirth. With 500 years of memories, he had STARGATE Gu, moving perspective cup Gu. All these were Gu worms that were more advanced than the current 5 regions by a generation. I can't sell remnant recipes for the time being, and the rockmen have to be supplied to Immortal Crane Sect, but I have other things to sell. Fang Yuan had a plan long ago. This item was none other than soil. The soil in Treasure Yellow Heaven were all rare goods, like cloud soil, rotten soil, salt soil, etc. Many blessed land produced soil, and they would sell it inside Treasure Yellow Heaven to exchange for what they needed with other Gu masters. The soil Fang Yuan wanted to sell was not ordinary either. It was the gruel mud. Back then, when the earthly calamity struck and Dang Han Mountain was damaged, polluted by the ability of immortal Gu gruel mud, the entire mountain started to turn into rotten mud. But in this world, fortune and misfortune came together. Although Dang Han Mountain rocks were turned into mud, they contained the gruel mud immortal Gu's power. In Gu Immortal's eyes, this was a must-have ingredient when refining the gruel mud immortal Gu. As expected, after Fang Yuan placed it into Treasure Yellow Heaven, a large amount of attention was garnered. What day is it today? So many good things are on sale. Gruel mud, this is the real gruel mud. I can feel the intense immortal Gu aura from it. It is a pity I do not have the gruel mud immortal Gu's recipe. I have no use for this mud. The divine senses of the Gu immortals were moving about as many sent their divine senses to compete for the item. I need the gruel mud immortal Gu's recipe. I will not exchange it for anything else. Under Fang Yuan's orders, little Hu Immortal sent her divine sense over. This strict request caused the Gu Immortals to scoff, using a pile of mud to exchange for an immortal Gu's recipe. You are way too greedy. The gruel mud immortal Gu is a one-time consumable Gu. The recipe is evidently more important than Gu worm itself. You have the face to say you want to exchange it for the recipe. This is too unrealistic. I advise you to change your condition. Otherwise, this pile of mud will stay in Treasure Yellow Heaven without a buyer forever. But little Hu Immortal quickly said, I am not requesting for the complete immortal recipe. Whoever has the remnant recipe with the highest treasure light will get this. The Gu Immortal stopped talking, starting to observe this. Soon, a Gu Immortal took out a remnant recipe and the treasure light was about 4 meters. This was not up to Fang Yuan's standards. He stared at the mirror and laughed, instructing little Hu Immortal. As long as the other Gu Immortals each took out a remnant recipe, we will add 1 jin of gruel mud. Yes, master. Little Hu Immortal replied quickly. In Hu Immortal Blessed Land, there was a lot of gruel mud. From start to end, all the gruel mud were cleared out of Dang Han Mountain by little Hu Immortal, but they did not throw it out of the Blessed Land, instead transferring it to the west area. After these years, through the conversion of the gruel mud inside the Blessed Land, there was a swamp forming slowly. The former disaster was now a resource. In Treasure Yellow Heaven, the Gu Immortals' divine senses were in a commotion. With the addition of every remnant recipe, little Hu Immortal would add a jin of gruel mud. Such an act was telling others clearly, we have a ton of it here. All the remnant recipes were added in one by one as the treasure light intensified. From the 4 meters, it had already rose to about 6 meters and was still increasing. Fang Yuan looked for a while and his smile became wider. His soul was from Earth. His marketing skills far surpassed this world. On Earth, enterprises boomed, while in Treasure Yellow Heaven, immortal essence stones could barely be used as the currency of trade. Most transactions were done using the primitive bartering method. Fang Yuan's method was a form of increasing his exposure. It attracted many Gu Immortals to sell the remnant recipe of the gruel mud immortal Gu. Of course, this was only a tiny trick. Next, Fang Yuan instructed little Hu Immortal to handle the other matters one by one. It is about time. I have to go now. Fang Yuan was counting the time. Dividing the time he spent in Hu Immortal Blessed Land by 5 was the amount of time that had passed in Northern Plains. Master, goodbye. You have to come back often, okay? Little Hu Immortal brought Fang Yuan to the west area of the Blessed Land, and under the radiance of the Starlight Firefly Gu, it activated the Stargate Gu once again. Fang Yuan was carrying many refinement materials as well as low-rank Gu worms as he stepped into the Stargate. Not long after, he stepped out of the other Stargate back to the Crescent Lake in Northern Plains. As he had calculated, it was currently near dawn. As the sun was rising, the first ray of sunlight shining on the land. The light breeze caused small ripples along the surface of the lake. The air was refreshing. There was dew on the grass near him, and there were bird groups gathering on the surface of the lake, spreading their wings like they were dancing. Fang Yuan breathed in deeply. His heart was overjoyed. Snatching Ma Hongyun's fortune by force, Fang Yuan obtained Langya Land's spirit's help this time. In Langya Blessed Land, he used one of the chances to obtain the Stargate Gu and others. After that, he returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land and used connecting Heaven Gu to settle the problem of the lack of resources. But after this, all my stagnating chess pieces have room for further development. The entire chessboard is alive once more. As the sky turned bright, Fang Yuan returned to G Tribe camp under the wolf group's accompaniment. I'm going to refine Gu in closed cultivation. Nobody is to disturb me. He gave his orders as he locked himself inside the lizard house, starting his Gu refinement. Regardless of where the Gu refinement materials came from, the Gu worms created belong to the region it is born in. That is to say, although the materials in Fang Yuan's hands came from Central Continent, as long as he refined them inside Northern Plains, all of them will be Northern Plains Gu, and would not be suppressed here. The first Gu he was going to refine was the Moving Perspective Cup Gu. Moving Perspective Cup Gu was rank 5. The set that was refined in Hu Immortal Blessed Land was about to break. It could only be used one more time. After visiting Treasure Yellow Heaven, Fang Yuan had the resources now. He was obviously going to refine another set of Moving Perspective Cup Gu at the same time in Crescent Lake. Yan Tribe's 9 Gu masters were traveling quickly on their hump wolves. Stop! There are wolf footprints here. Yan Tribe leader stopped his wolf, looking at the large number of footprints in front of him. He expressed great shock. So many wolves, this is a myriad wolf group. The other Gu masters exclaimed, "Your tribe camp is not too far away. Do you think this myriad wolf group is heading towards them?" Not good. Look at these footprints. There are poison-beard wolves, wind wolves, as well as turtleback wolves and night wolves and so on. Wild wolf groups only live among themselves. A mix of so many wolves only means that they are being controlled by a Gu master. Yan tribe leader pondered. G tribe was once a large-sized tribe, but now that they were forced to migrate, they are no longer as great as before. They have no way of feeding such a huge wolf group. Most likely, this wolf group belongs to a demonic Gu master. Our objective this time is to seek reinforcements from G tribe. Let's go see what happens first. If G tribe faces trouble, we will retreat quietly. If we can do them a cheap favor, we will help them encircle the wolves. Yes, Lord Tribe Leader. Everyone shouted. Go. Let's go to G Tribe. The hump wolves moved again, bringing these people towards G Tribe camp. Chapter 470, Water Demon. Halt. The patrolling G Tribe Gu Master saw the Yan Tribe Gu Masters and shouted. Yan Tribe Gu Masters stopped their hump wolves. As an elder spoke, the person beside me is Yan Tribe Leader, Lord Yan Tianji. We are here to visit G Tribe Leader. Yan Tribe? G Tribe Gu Master's expression changed. That's right. Our main tent is about 100 li away. Please wait here, lords. According to Northern Plains time, G Tribe had just reached Crescent Lake and had set up camp for just a day. G Tribe camp was still busy constructing their homes. Lord, the wolf group footprints all entered G Tribe camp. A tribe elder said softly at Yan Tribe leader Yan Tianji. Yan Tianji nodded, his gaze turning firm. To think this enslavement path Gu Master is from G Tribe. It seems we came to the right place. This is a strong aid in dealing with water demon Hao Ji Liu. But G Tribe might not necessarily help us. A tribe elder was worried. Yan Tianji sneered, acting as if he had G Tribe dancing in the palm of his hands. G Tribe wants to attend the Heroes Assembly. My daughter is Lu Wenwu's fiancée. If I use Lu tribe's name to ask for reinforcements, can this tiny G tribe refuse? Saying so, the newly constructed camp gates opened as G tribe's new leader, Zhiguang, came out with the band of elders. Yan tribe leader has come personally. It is our honor. Please follow me to the main tent. Zhiguang invited him enthusiastically. Why is he only a rank 3 Gu master? Sensing Zhiguang's cultivation, the Yan tribesmen showed contempt, bringing the Yan tribesmen into the camp for a banquet. After they had some wine, Yan tribe leader gazed at his elder. The elder quickly said, "To speak the truth, G tribe leader, we are here today to ask for help from your tribe." Help. The elder continued. That's right. Our tribe's big missy Yan Kui heir was kidnapped by Hao Ji Liu. This person is unscrupulous and shameless, hiding in Crescent Lake and extorting our tribe. He is a waterpath Gu master. He has great battle strength when fighting underwater. Our tribe's few attempts at saving her failed. This time, we would like to ask for G tribe's help. Hao Ji Liu. You mean that water demon Hao Ji Liu? Zhiguang thought of this person and his expression changed. This person was a rank 4 upper stage Gu master. He walked the water path, and his vile name was famous in northern plains. He was a devious and scheming demon. Zhiguang frowned deeply. After thinking about it, he rejected. Members of the demonic faction deserves to be brought to justice. As a member of the righteous faction, G tribe should help out. But right now, we do not have the ability to do so. My father had died in battle. I was tasked to be the tribe leader immediately after. We have already suffered great losses. We have no strength left to exterminate the water demon. Why? G tribe leader is unwilling to help? Hearing Zhiguang's words, Yan tribe elders' expressions sank. An elder sneered, G tribe leader. You are too young. You do not know certain things, let me tell you. Our tribe's big missy Yan Kui had been engaged to Lu Wenwu. Her status is Lu Wenwu's fiancée. If you do not help us save her, when Lu tribe pursues the matter, you will not be able to explain yourselves. Zhiguang's expression changed. There were a few super tribes in northern plains, among them were He tribe and Lu tribe. Liu tribe's third young master, Lu Wenwu, was an expert in both the brush and sword. He had outstanding talent and high aspirations. This time, he brought his supporters from his tribe and separated from Lu tribe, trying to create his own tribe from scratch. He was one of the few most famous competitors for the throne of the imperial court. Lu Wenwu had a huge force. Yan Kui was his fiancée. If Iji tribe did not save her, Lu Wenwu would definitely find trouble with them during the heroes' assembly. But now G tribe was in dire straits themselves. They had just lost a lot of high-rank Gu masters. If they fought the water demon, they would have to shoulder a great loss. Zhiguang thought about his tribe's benefits and did not wish to make enemies with the water demon for no reason. But if they did nothing, it might attract Lu Wenwu's animosity. Zhiguang was very troubled. Yan tribe leader saw Zhiguang's hesitation and laughed. The righteous path had always stuck together. I believe that G tribe would not leave us in the lurch. G tribe has outstanding strength. You do not need to conceal it. When we came, we found a large number of wolf footprints. As long as J tribe mobilizes your enslavement path Gu master, we are willing to pay 3,000 primeval stones in advance. Zhiguang was secretly furious. Just 3,000 primeval stones were they giving loose change to a beggar. He controlled his anger and laughed bitterly. You might not know. This enslavement path Gu master is not a member of G tribe. I cannot command him. He is Lord Chang Shan Yin. Chang Shan Yin. Yan tribe leader was stunned, thinking that this name was very familiar. Zhiguang then told him what he knew about Fang Yuan's origins and identity. Yan tribe's gang were overjoyed at hearing the news. Chang Shan Yin, he is alive. I remember now he is someone from my generation. He was once famous throughout northern plains, a highly acclaimed genius enslavement path Gu master. This is great. Even heaven is helping us. Chang tribe had already submitted to young master Lu Wenwu. If we tell Chang Shan Yin our request, he will definitely help. Yan tribe leader was candid. Tribe leader Zhiguang, lead the way. Zhiguang laughed bitterly. If I can bring you to him, I would have done it long ago. Lord Chang Shanyin returned this morning and announced he was going into closed cultivation to refine Gu. If we interrupt him, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? Yan tribe leader stood up. Chang Shanyin is from the same generation as me. I've heard of him long ago. Chang tribe and Yan tribe are already under young master Lu Wenwu. We are on the same side. Young master Lu Wenwu is Chang Shanyin's master. Furthermore, this matter is so important, it is no big deal even if we interrupt his Gu refinement. Bring me there. This Ji Guang hesitated. Yan tribe leader's expression turned stiff. Ji tribe leader, do not stall for time. If we are too late and my daughter faces mortal danger, when young master Lu Wenwu blames you, Ji Guang gritted his teeth, conceding. All right, I will bring you there. Water demon Hao Ji Lu. Fang Yuan raised his eyebrows, looking at these Yan tribe Gu masters. Brother Chang, you have been asleep for 20 years. You might not know this. This water demon was a rising star from the younger generation. After receiving a mysterious opportunity, he is already rank 4 upper stage at 35 years old. Yan tribe leader explained. Fang Yuan nodded, exclaiming, Northern Plains is huge. There are countless heroes and conquerors. Since Yan tribe is asking with their life on the line, I shall make this trip. The expression of Yan tribe's gang changed. What was Chang Shanyin saying? What life on the life? It sounded like they were very feeble and defenseless. Lord Chang Shanyin, why are you lauding the spirit of the enemy and belittling that of our own? That water demon is scheming, hiding inside Crescent Lake while holding our big missy hostage. That is why we cannot take him down. An elder was indignant. Lord Chang Shanyin, your Chang tribe has already submitted to young master Lu Wenwu. This is your opportunity. Another elder spoke as if he was thinking for Fang Yuan's benefit. Yan tribe leader smiled lightly. Hee, Brother Chang, with your help this time, what can a mere water demon amount to? Fang Yuan snickered. By logic or emotion, I should help out. I will battle alongside all of you. Yan tribe was overjoyed. Good. Let us set off now. Yan tribe's old man, I want 10 million primeval stones and that backwater battle Gu. Did you bring them? Water demon stood at the edge of Crescent Lake as he looked at the people with caution. Of course I brought it. Where is my daughter? Yan Tianji said, taking out 2 Gu. One was a rank 5 storage Gu. The other was backwater battle Gu. Backwater battle Gu was a rank 5 Gu. It could greatly boost the power of water path Gu worms. It was very precious with no market supply. Seeing these 2 Gu water demons' gaze became heated. He had a young appearance. His face was pale as he had broad shoulders and a thin waist. He was handsome and had a carefree disposition. His sideburns were already turning white, giving him a mature aura. Return my daughter and I will pass you what you want. Now, I want to see my daughter first. Yan Tianji said solemnly. Water demon snorted, snapping his fingers. Swoosh! In the lake water behind him, waves started moving as a giant fan shell appeared from under the water. This fan shell was as big as an elephant. The surface was shiny. As the 2 sides of the shell opened, a young girl could be seen inside. The young girl was tied up tightly. Her mouth was gagged. When she saw Yan tribe leader, she was so agitated that tears were flowing on her face as she struggled. Water demon snorted. You've seen your daughter, now hand over the Gu. Don't try anything funny. Your daughter is in my hands. If anything happens to her, how will you account to Lu Wenwu? Hee. Damn it. Despicable scum, fight me fair and square if you have the guts. Yan tribe elders gritted their teeth. Yan tribe leader's expression was calm as water as he tossed 2 Gu towards Water Demon. Water Demon received it carefully. He did not use his hand to grab it, but instead let the 2 Gu fall onto the ground. You did not do anything fishy to these Gu worms, right? Water Demon squinted, looking at Yan Tianji sharply. Yan Tianji's expression was livid. Humph, go ahead and refine it. Water Demon snickered, step back by 30 steps. Yan tribe's gang had no choice but to comply. Water Demon stared at the Yan tribe Gu masters before squatting down and picking up the 2 Gu worms. He first inspected them and found no problems with them. Next, he carefully started refining the backwater battle Gu. Backwater Battle Gu had Yan Tianji's will. As he cooperated with Water Demon, it allowed him to refine the Backwater Battle Gu easily. Water Demon chuckled. Very good, Yan Tianji. You are very tactful. Next, I will inspect the primeval stones. If the amount of correct, I will return your precious daughter to you. Don't worry. I do not wish to be enemies with Lu Wenwu. Your daughter is still a virgin. I did not even touch her hands. Yan Tianji snorted, not saying a word. He willed and aided Water Demon in refining the storage Gu. Water Demon's mind entered the Gu as he saw a large amount of primeval stones, unable to control his joy as it showed on his face. But at this time, from among these primeval stones, a Gu flew out and crashed onto him at breakneck speed. Rank 4, Immobilization Gu. Strike, Yan Tianji shouted, and the elders surrounded Water Demon quickly. Oh no! Water Demon was grabbing the storage Gu. As he was unable to move, he watched himself get surrounded helplessly. Water Demon, today will be your death date. Fang Yuan rode the hump wolf as he and a large group of wolves emerged from a nearby woodland.